Chapter 663. Early in the morning, when the sun had just risen, Ji Tianxing and Ji Ku returned to the monarch mansion. After returning to Tianxing Palace, Ji Tianxing and Ji Ku returned to the secret chamber. Yan was recuperating when she sensed that they had entered the secret chamber. She quickly ended the recuperation and opened her eyes. She looked up at Ji Tianxing and Ji Ku. Seeing their heavy expressions, she asked with concern, "Senior brother Tianxing, have you asked Senior Beast King? What's the situation?" Ji Tianxing nodded and repeated the Beast King's words. After hearing this, Yen's eyes flashed and she said subconsciously, "Ice Dragon Hammer? The Demon Clan's treasure? Senior brother Tianxing, isn't Prince Kunwu the Demon Clan's prince? If you want to use the Ice Dragon Hammer to deal with the Heavenly Wind Fiery Bird, you can ask Kunwu for help." Ji Tianxing shook his head and said with a smile, "Yan, I've already thought of this method on the way back. However, Kunwu and we can only be considered acquaintances. We're not even good friends. The Ice Dragon Hammer is stored in the Demon Clan's Imperial Court. It's the Demon Clan's treasure. How can Kunwu lend it to us? Moreover, even if Kunwu is willing to lend it to us, he may not be able to make the decision." Yen's face stiffened and she pouted. "All right, based on our relationship with him, there's no reason for him to help us." Everyone was silent and the secret chamber fell into silence. Ji Ku stood silently at the side. Seeing Ji Tianxing frowning and worried, she couldn't help but feel worried and anxious. In the past few months, Ji Tianxing had risen rapidly and become a world-renowned peerless genius. However, in the process, he had also encountered all kinds of troubles and dangers. Ji Ku's heart clenched as she watched him repeatedly encounter danger. Every time he encountered trouble, he had to rack his brains to think of a way to deal with it. Unfortunately, her strength was low and she could not help Ji Tianxing, so she could only be anxious. She felt more and more useless, like a burden. Other than bringing him trouble, she couldn't help him at all. The most helpless thing was that she could do nothing but feel heartache and blame herself. Now that she saw Ji Tianxing worrying about the Ice Dragon Hammer, she secretly made up her mind that no matter what, she would help him solve this problem. At this time, Ji Tianxing saw that the atmosphere was a little gloomy, so he smiled and said, "Well, I will think of a way to solve this matter. You don't have to worry about it. Yan, you should focus on recuperating from your injuries. Ku, you should go back and rest too." Ji Ku nodded and said goodbye to Ji Tianxing and Yan. He then turned and walked out of the secret room. However, she didn't return to her residence to rest. Instead, she quietly left Tianxing Palace and rushed to Kunwu Palace alone. 2 hours later, Ji Ku arrived at the peak of the Kunwu mountain range and arrived at the gate of Kunwu Palace. The two monster clan guards at the gate stopped her with expressionless faces and asked her why she had come. Ji Ku hesitated for a moment before she calmly said, "Please report to Kunwu Prince that Ji Ku has come to visit and has something important to discuss with him." One of the Demon Clan guards nodded and said in a cold tone, "Wait here. I will go and report to His Highness now." After saying that, the Demon Clan guard turned and entered Kunwu Palace to report the news. Ji Ku stood under the towering gate and lowered her head to look at the ground under her feet. She felt a little uneasy. Although she didn't want to have any contact with Kunwu. Previously, Kunwu had taken the initiative to look for her every time they met. But this time, in order to help Ji Tianxing, she mustered up her courage and took the initiative to look for Kunwu. Unknowingly, a quarter of an hour passed. The Demon Clan guard returned to the gate and saluted Ji Ku with cupped fists. "Miss Ji Ku, His Highness invites you. Please follow me." Ji Ku secretly heaved a sigh of relief when she heard that Kunwu was willing to meet her. She followed the Demon Clan guard into Kunwu Palace and walked into the depths of the palace. She followed the Demon Clan guard through 2 courtyards and 2 palaces. She entered the main hall of Kunwu Palace and arrived at the door of Kunwu's study. The Demon Clan guard led her to the door and turned to leave. She pushed open the door of the study and stepped into the study. This was a spacious and bright study. It was surrounded by antique bookshelves filled with thousands of books. There was a large table near the window. On it were several stacks of books, a few stacks of documents and letters, and a bronze incense burner. A wisp of light blue smoke floated in the burner, emitting a calming and refreshing sandalwood fragrance. Kunwu, who was wearing a fox fur coat, was sitting behind the table. He held a golden brush in his hand and was writing something with a serious expression. After Ji-ku smelled the faint fragrance, her mind calmed down and she became much calmer. She walked to the front of the large table and looked at Kunwu, who was writing with his head lowered. She bowed slightly and said, "Ji-ku greets His Highness Kunwu." Kunwu returned to his senses and hurriedly put down the brush and paper. He raised his head and looked at her. A gentle smile appeared on his handsome and resolute face. He said gently, "Cuckoo, there's no need to be so courteous with me. Quickly sit down and talk." As he spoke, he nodded and indicated for Ji-ku to sit down. He also had the guard at the door of the study bring Ji-ku a cup of spiritual tea. After Ji-ku sat down, he smiled and asked, "Cuckoo, why did you take the initiative to look for me today? Is there something you need my help with?" Ji-ku nodded and stood up. She said seriously, "His Highness Kunwu, you promised me before that if I came to you with any difficulties, you would do your best to help me. I wonder if your Highness Kunwu's words from back then still count?" Kunwu was stunned for a moment, but he nodded without hesitation. He said in a serious tone, "Cuckoo, I naturally keep my promise to you. Tell me, what do you need my help with this time?" Seeing that Kunwu was so straightforward, Ji-ku no longer hesitated. She said with a serious expression, "His Highness Kunwu, I heard that the demon race has a Dharma treasure called the Ice Dragon Hammer. I would like to ask His Highness Kunwu to lend me the Ice Dragon Hammer. Rest assured, Your Highness, I will only borrow it for a few days. After I'm done with it, I will definitely return it to you." Ji-ku only said that she wanted to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer, but she didn't mention why she wanted to borrow it. She also didn't explain what she wanted to do with it. After Kunwu heard this, he only raised his eyebrows. He didn't ask her why she wanted to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer. He looked at Ji-ku with a deep gaze and said in a serious tone, "Cuckoo, as long as you ask for it, I will definitely do my best to help you. I will definitely help you with this. However, the Ice Dragon Hammer is my race's treasure. It is stored in the Imperial Court and can't be used easily. Moreover, I can't make the decision on this matter. I have to report it to His Majesty the Demon King." Chapter 664. After hearing Kunwu's words, Ji-ku's eyes instantly dimmed. Although she had already expected this result. The Ice Dragon Hammer was the Demon Clan's most precious treasure. How could she borrow it just because she wanted to? However, before she came to Kunwu Palace, she still had a glimmer of hope in her heart. Now that she heard Kunwu's reply, the glimmer of hope in her heart was instantly shattered, and her heart was filled with a deep sense of loss. She stood there dejectedly and muttered in her heart, "Am I really so useless that I can't help Big Brother Tianxing no matter what? Big Brother Tianxing has done so much for me, and even risked his life to protect me. However, I can't do anything when he's in trouble and danger. I can't help him at all." Ji-ku pursed her lips, and a determined look flashed across her eyes. Then she gritted her teeth and made up her mind. She knelt down in front of Kunwu and pleaded, "Your Highness Kunwu, you're a noble prince, the heir to the Demon Clan's Imperial Court, and the future Demon Emperor. I know that as long as you're willing to help me, you'll have a way to persuade the Demon Emperor. I'll definitely be able to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer, right? Cuckoo, please help me this time. I only need to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer for a few days. I beg you to help me." Kunwu clearly didn't expect Ji-ku to kneel down and beg him. He hurriedly stood up and reached out to help Ji-ku up. He sighed with a complicated expression. "Cuckoo, why do you have to do this?" Ji-ku looked at him with a burning gaze, and her eyes revealed a deep sense of hope. She asked, "Your Highness Kunwu, you're willing to help me, right?" Kunwu nodded slightly and said in a serious tone, "Cuckoo, it's not that there's no way, but it requires your cooperation." When Ji-ku heard that there was a way, she immediately revealed a trace of joy and nodded without hesitation. "Your Highness Kunwu, as long as you can help me borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer, I'm willing to cooperate no matter what you want me to do." Kunwu was startled again when he heard this. He chuckled and asked, "Cuckoo, you silly girl. How can you agree so hastily? What if my request is disadvantageous to you? Aren't you afraid of getting hurt? Ji-ku was silent and didn't speak, but she looked at him with a firm gaze, which contained a touch of trust. Kuan-Wu understood her eyes and felt warm in his heart. He reminded her in a serious tone, "Ku, you have to remember, in the future, except for me and the people closest to you, if someone else says such words, you must not agree easily. You must consider it carefully." Ji-ku nodded and said solemnly, "Thank you for your reminder, Your Highness. Ku will remember it." Only then did Kuan-Wu return to her rattan chair. She smiled and said, "All right, you don't have to be so nervous. In fact, what I need you to do is very simple. You don't need to take any risks, and you don't need to pay any price. You just need to make a trip back to the demon race with me to confirm one thing." Ji-ku revealed a puzzled expression and asked subconsciously, "Your Highness, what did you confirm?" Kuan-Wu chuckled and shook his head, "I can't tell you about this for the time being. After you return to the demon clan with me, you will naturally understand. Also, there's something I have to tell you in advance. Even if you do as I ask, I can't guarantee that you will be able to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer. It's just that there's a higher chance of success." Ji-ku frowned and thought for a moment before nodding in agreement. Although she might not be able to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer, as long as there was a chance of success, she had to try. She didn't want to be a useless burden that would only burden Ji Tianxing and not be able to help him. "Your Highness Kuan-Wu, I promise you. When do you plan to bring me back to the demon race?" Kuan-Wu smiled and nodded. "I've been very free recently and have nothing to do. I can return to the demon race at any time. You can go back and prepare first. When you are ready, come and find me." Ji-ku immediately agreed and said seriously, "All right, I will arrange it as soon as possible." Then, she bowed to Kuan-Wu and left the study room. Kuan-Wu sat alone in the study room and watched her leave. Her lips curled into a smile as she muttered softly, "That's great. I've been waiting for this day. Ku finally believes in me and is willing to return to the demon race with me. The answer will be revealed soon." As he spoke, his eyes revealed a look of strong anticipation. After Ji-ku left Kuan-Wu Palace, she quietly returned to Tianxing Palace. After returning to her residence, she simply packed her things and prepared her luggage. She asked the palace maids and learned that Ji Tianxing was resting in a secret room. Then she waited patiently for an entire day. The next morning, she rushed to Ji Tianxing's residence. Ji Tianxing had just finished his meditation when he saw her enter the room. She seemed to have something on her mind. Thus, he asked in a concerned tone, "Ku, why did you come to find me so early in the morning? Is there something wrong?" Ji-ku nodded and said, "Big brother Tianxing, I'm here today to bid you farewell. I might have to leave for a long time. You're leaving the imperial residence?" Ji Tianxing immediately frowned and asked worriedly, "Ku, other than the imperial residence which is still considered safe, it's very dangerous outside. Why do you want to leave at this time? Did something happen?" Ji-ku was silent for a moment and thought to herself, during this period of time, Big Brother Tianxing has been focused on dealing with the Duanmu family. He's already mentally and physically exhausted. I can't tell Big Brother Tianxing the truth. Otherwise, he'll be worried about me and it'll only add to his troubles. Thinking of this, she lied and said to Ji Tianxing, "Big Brother Tianxing, I received a letter from Qingyun Kingdom saying that Imperial Father is seriously ill and is in a critical condition. I want to return to Qingyun Kingdom to visit Imperial Father." Ji Tianxing immediately frowned and said in a deep voice, "Your Imperial Father is seriously ill. You should go back and visit him. However, the journey from Zhongzhou City to Qingyun Kingdom is too long. I'm worried about you going back alone. The Duanmu family must be watching our every move and they'll definitely find an opportunity to make a move on you. Ku, I'll accompany you back to Qingyun Kingdom in case you meet with danger like Yen." Hearing his words, Ji-ku quickly waved her hand and rejected him. Her tone was a little anxious as she said, No. Big Brother Tianxing, I'll go back alone. I don't need you to accompany me. It'll take at least 2 months to return to Qingyun Kingdom from Zhongzhou City. You have a heavy responsibility now and you still have to work hard to improve your strength. How can you waste your time on this matter? All in all, I'll go back alone. You can focus on your own matters. Ji Tianxing frowned slightly and looked at her with a deep gaze. Even though Ji Ke tried her best to hide her true thoughts, she was still pure and kind. She wasn't good at lying and deceiving others. Ji Tianxing could tell at a glance that she wasn't telling the truth and was hiding something. Chapter 665. Although Ji Tianxing could tell that Ji Ke was not telling the truth, he knew that there was something wrong with her. If she wanted to hide her true thoughts, Ji Tianxing would not force her to explain. After Ji Ke bid farewell to him and left Tianxing Palace, he quietly followed Ji Ke. He decided to see for himself what Ji Ke was hiding and what she wanted to do. He saw that after Ji Ke left Tianxing Palace, she did not head towards the exit of the emperor residence. Instead, she rushed towards the depths of the mountains. He followed Ji Ke all the way into the depths of the mountains and saw Ji Ke ascending Kunwu mountain range and entering Kunwu Palace. Ji Tianxing stayed outside Kunwu Palace and watched as Ji Ke entered Kunwu Palace. He instantly frowned in confusion. He also did not know why Ji Ke entered Kunwu Palace. After waiting patiently for an hour, he saw Ji Ke and a young man walking out side by side. That young man was wearing a white fox fur coat. He was tall and sturdy with a handsome face. He was Emperor Kunwu. After both of them left Kunwu Palace, they rode on a spiritual bird and flew towards the exit of the emperor residence. Seeing this, Ji Tianxing frowned and thought to himself, why is Ke looking for Kunwu? Where is she going with Kunwu? By now, he could already confirm that Ji Ke was lying. Ji Ke was definitely not returning to Qingyun Kingdom. He secretly followed Ji Ke and Kunwu. While secretly observing, he silently guessed Ji Ke's intentions. Ke is so close to Kunwu and deliberately hid it from me. What is she trying to do? Could it be she deliberately got close to Kunwu to help me borrow the ice dragon hammer? Ji Tianxing roughly guessed Ji Ke's motive and became even more worried. The ice dragon hammer is the demon clan's treasure. Even if Kunwu is the demon clan's prince, he will not lend it to her just like that. Ke must have agreed to Kunwu's conditions. This silly girl. She's so naive and doesn't even have the slightest bit of vigilance. She'll definitely suffer. Thinking of this, Ji Tianxing quickly sped up and streaked across the sky like a shooting star. He caught up with Kunwu's flying spirit beast. Shua! With a flash of golden light, Ji Tianxing rushed in front of the flying spiritual birds, blocking Kunwu and Ji Ke. Kunwu and Ji Ke stood on the back of the flying spirit bird and were discussing something in a low voice. Ji Tianxing's sudden appearance caught Kunwu and Ji Ke by surprise. Kunwu hurriedly stopped the spiritual bird and floated in the sky 100 meters away from Ji Tianxing. Ji Ke's expression changed when he saw Ji Tianxing. It was as if she had been caught doing something wrong. Her gaze was a little evasive, not daring to look directly at Ji Tianxing. Shua! Ji Tianxing's figure flashed across 100 meters and landed on the back of the flying spirit bird. He stood in front of Kunwu and Ji Ke. He ignored Kunwu and fixed his eyes on Ji Ke. With a complicated tone, he asked, Ke, where are you going behind my back with Kunwu? Why did you lie to me and say that you're going back to Qingyun Kingdom? Why didn't you tell me the truth? Brother Tianxing, don't be angry. Ji Ke's fingers were intertwined. She lowered her head with an ugly expression, not knowing how to explain. Seeing this scene, Kunwu's eyes flashed with a look of realization. She suddenly understood something. He glanced at Ji Ke and looked at Ji Tianxing. He chuckled and said, it seems that I'm right. Ke did this to help you. Ji Tianxing frowned and quickly stood in front of Ji Ke. He stared coldly at Kunwu and asked in a deep voice, Kunwu, what are you trying to do? Where are you taking Ke? Kunwu smiled and said calmly, Ji Tianxing, no matter what you're guessing, I'm upright and upright. There's nothing I can't say. I might as well tell you the truth. I'm taking Ji Ke back to the demon race. Ji Tianxing instantly looked doubtful and vigilant. He frowned and asked, back to the demon race? Why are you taking Ke back to the demon race? Kunwu shook her head and said expressionlessly, I'm sorry, this is our business. I have no comment. Ji Tianxing narrowed his eyes and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He said coldly, Kunwu, Ke has a pure heart. You'd better not play any tricks on her. Otherwise, I'll... Before he could finish, Ji-ku quickly grabbed his arm and said in a sincere tone, Brother Tianxing, Her Highness Kuan-Wu doesn't seem like a bad person. She didn't do anything bad to me. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Ji Tianxing turned his head and looked at Ji-ku beside him. He said firmly, Ku, you trust others too easily. No matter what, I won't let you go back to the demon race with him. Ji-ku immediately looked anxious and shook her head. Brother Tianxing, this is our only chance. Please believe in Kuan-Wu and believe in me this once, okay? Ji Tianxing stared into her eyes and asked in a serious tone, Ku, tell me the truth. Did you promise Kuan-Wu to go back to the demon race with him to help me borrow the ice dragon hammer? Ji-ku pursed her lips. After a moment of silence, she nodded silently. Ji Tianxing stretched out his hands and pressed on her shoulders. He persuaded her patiently, Ku, I know you want to help me borrow the ice dragon hammer and help me solve my problem. However, I won't let you take the risk and go to an unfamiliar demon race alone. You don't have to worry about the ice dragon hammer. I'll think of another way. Ji-ku's eyes became more and more anxious. She said in a pleading tone, Brother Tianxing, please let me help you this once, okay? I don't want to see you anxious and worried about this. Kuan-Wu stood at the side and watched the two of them comfort each other. However, he couldn't come to a conclusion. Therefore, he looked at Ji Tianxing with a serious expression and said, Ji Tianxing, although you don't believe in me, I have no ill intentions towards Ku. I won't hurt her. If you're really worried about Ku, you can come with us to the demon race's imperial court. Hearing Kuan-Wu's words, Ji Tianxing and Ji-ku immediately stopped talking. Ji Tianxing took a deep look at Kuan-Wu, then nodded without hesitation. Okay, I'll go with you to the demon race. I can only be at ease if I'm by Ku's side. Kuan-Wu nodded slightly and said calmly, Ji Tianxing, I have something to tell you in advance. You're not a member of my race. After going to our demon race, you can't interfere with our demon race's matters. Ji Tianxing nodded and said, Of course I understand the rules. However, it's a long journey from here to the demon race's imperial court. A round trip will take at least 10 days to half a month. Wait for me here for a moment. I have to go back to Tianxing Palace to make some arrangements before I can go with you. Kuan-Wu waved his hand and said with a smile, There's no need to go through so much trouble. I have a magic treasure called the Mother-Child Soaring Shuttle. It can go back and forth between Zhongzhou and the imperial court in a day. Chapter 666. Although Kuan-Wu had only briefly explained the effects of the Mother-Child Soaring Shuttle. However, Ji Tianxing and Ji-ku both revealed astonished expressions. It would take at least half a month to travel from Central State to the imperial court of the monster race. The two of them didn't dare to believe that there was such a miraculous magic treasure like the Mother-Child Soaring Shuttle that could travel back and forth in a single day. This was simply a miracle. Since the Mother-Child Soaring Shuttle had the ability to travel through space, Ji Tianxing didn't have any misgivings and didn't need to return to Tianxing Palace to make arrangements. He followed Kuan-Wu and Ji-ku out of the monarch mansion and returned to Central State City. The spirit birds carried them through Central State City and flew to the Star Moon Mountain in the western outskirts. At the peak of the Star Moon Mountain stood a magnificent manor with a radius of 10 miles. It was Kuan-Wu's temporary residence, the Star Moon Manor. There were several magnificent palaces in the manor, as well as rows upon rows of buildings and magnificent pavilions. Kuan-Wu brought Ji Tianxing and Ji-ku into the Star Moon Manor and walked towards the depths of the manor. The three of them met many guards and maids along the way. Everyone bowed and paid their respects to them. After a while, Kuan-Wu brought Ji Tianxing and Ji-ku into the secret room where he usually cultivated in seclusion. This secret room was very spacious and the construction was quite exquisite and luxurious. It was unknown how many precious gems and materials were used. The secret room was filled with rich spiritual energy and was protected by a powerful formation. Wait a moment. This sovereign will use the Mother-Child Soaring Shuttle to open the space passage. Kuan-Wu warned Ji Tianxing and Ji-ku before taking out the Mother-Child Soaring Shuttle from his spatial ring. This magic treasure was a palm-sized silver shuttle. The two ends were tapered and the middle was like a cylinder. The surface of the shuttle was covered with simple diamond-shaped patterns. It flickered with a faint white light and emitted a mysterious and vast aura. Ji Tianxing could clearly sense that the grade and power of this magic treasure was not inferior to his seal of mountains and rivers. The silver shuttle quietly floated in the air, motionless. Kun Wu waved his palms and sent out waves of majestic true essence into the silver shuttle. As he used the secret technique, the silver shuttle immediately spun and emitted a dazzling white light. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The mother-child soaring shuttle's speed became faster and faster, and the white light became more and more dazzling, illuminating the entire secret room. About a quarter of an hour later, the dazzling white light condensed into a 3-meter-tall white light door, standing in the middle of the secret room. Kun Wu finished casting the spell and slowly withdrew his palms. He said with a calm expression, "All right, we can go now." Surprise flashed through Ji Tianxing's eyes. He couldn't help but ask, "You're done so quickly? Is this portal really connected to the monstrous imperial court?" Kun Wu saw that he and Ji Ku were in disbelief, so he explained with a smile, "That's right. Every time I go back and forth between the imperial court and the central state, I use this portal. The mother-child soaring shuttle is divided into the sun shuttle and the mother shuttle. The one in my hand is the sun shuttle, and the mother shuttle is fixed in my clan's imperial court, forming a teleportation array. After I use the sun shuttle to open the portal, I can open a space passage to the mother shuttle. No matter where the sun shuttle is on the continent, as long as I open the portal, I can quickly return to my clan's imperial court. When we leave the demon imperial court, we just need to cross the mother shuttle's teleportation array to return here." After listening to Kun Wu's explanation, Ji Tianxing immediately understood. He nodded and praised sincerely, "It's really an extraordinary magic treasure. It's unbelievable." Kun Wu smiled and did not say anything. Then he stepped into the portal first. Swoosh! The portal flashed with white light and instantly swallowed Kun Wu's figure. Ji Tianxing and Ji Ke did not hesitate and stepped into the portal. Swoosh, swoosh. The two only felt the scene in front of them suddenly change. The next moment, they appeared on an empty high platform. This high platform was 1,000 feet above the ground and was located in the thick white clouds. It was surrounded by a white sea of clouds. The ground of the high platform was paved with dark green boulders and inlaid with some silver crystals. Countless ancient patterns and array patterns were engraved on it. The entire high platform was a huge teleportation array. In the middle of the high platform stood a huge teleportation gate that was 100 feet tall. It was condensed from white light. Ji Tianxing stared at the teleportation gate for a moment and guessed that it was the teleportation gate formed by the mother shuttle. And this high platform was definitely in the demon imperial court. He looked around and saw that in the four corners of the high platform, there were dozens of demon clan guards wearing armor and holding spears and halberds. In the sea of clouds around the high platform, one could vaguely see splendid palaces and rows upon rows of houses. Those palaces and houses were built beautifully and luxuriously. They also contained the unique charm of the demon clan. In the sea of clouds not far away, groups of winged men guards could be faintly seen flying past, patrolling and cruising. It was early in the morning. Golden sunlight shone down from the sky and reflected in the sea of clouds, causing the sea of clouds and palaces to shine with multicolored light. It was like a fairyland. It was the first time Ji Tianxing and Ji Ke had come to the demon clan. The two of them looked at the scene around them and felt that it was like a dream. It was amazing. At this moment, Kun Wu looked at the two of them and said with a calm expression, "Welcome to the demon imperial court. This is the teleportation array built by the sky-soaring mother shuttle. It's called the sky-soaring tower. When we return to Zhongzhou, we will leave from here. Now, please follow me into the imperial court." With that, Kun Wu led the two of them away from the high platform and walked down the sky-soaring tower. When the demon clan guards around the sky-soaring tower saw Kun Wu, they immediately bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Your Highness Kun Wu." Kun Wu's expression was indifferent, and his body exuded a majestic aura. He led Ji Tianxing and Ji Ku into the imperial court. It was only now that Ji Tianxing saw clearly that the layout and location of the demon imperial court was very similar to the human imperial court. The demon imperial court was also built on a towering mountain peak that was tens of thousands of feet high. It covered an area of more than 100 miles. There were more than 20 palaces and thousands of houses and houses. Those palaces and houses were arranged according to a special array. They could gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and resonate with the stars in the sky, accumulating strong luck for the demon clan. The difference between the two was that the palaces and houses of the demon imperial court were mostly in the style of hexagonal cornices. They were painted with colorful patterns and patterns. On both sides of every avenue in the imperial court, there would be statues erected one after another. Chapter 667. Ji Tianxing and Ji Ku were in the demon imperial court. They could feel the ancient and majestic aura as well as the roughness and wildness unique to the demon race. The two of them followed Kun Wu into the depths of the imperial court, admiring the scenery as they walked. 15 minutes later, Kun Wu led the two of them into the Eastern Palace and arranged a place for them to stay for the time being. The Eastern Palace was Kun Wu's bedroom and also the residence of the Crown Prince. Although the demon race had several demon emperors, the one in charge of the imperial court was the famous Heavenly Net Demon Emperor. Kun Wu was the eldest son of the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and also the heir to the demon imperial court. His status was equivalent to that of the Emperor of the human imperial court. Furthermore, the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor only married an empress and didn't take in many concubines. He didn't have many children like the human imperial emperors. He only had one prince, Kun Wu. As long as there were no accidents, Kun Wu would inherit the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor's throne many years later and control the demon imperial court. Therefore, Kun Wu's status in the demon race was extremely high and he was deeply respected by all the demon race in the imperial court. As soon as he returned to the Eastern Palace, many demon race generals and experts rushed to the Eastern Palace for an audience. Kun Wu exchanged a few pleasantries with the generals and experts before sending them away. After arranging accommodations for Ji Tianxing and Ji Ku, he said to the two of them, "Stay here first. This monarch has just returned to the imperial court, so I'm going to pay my respects to the demon emperor and mother. If the demon emperor isn't in seclusion, I will report this matter to him and ask him to make a decision. When the time comes, I will bring you to meet the demon emperor." Ji Tianxing and Ji Ku nodded in agreement and returned to their rooms to rest. Kun Wu left the Eastern Palace and rushed to the imperial court's main hall. Coincidentally, the demon emperor wasn't in seclusion. He was currently in the main hall discussing important matters with the demon race's officials and generals. The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor wore a golden-scaled robe and a limitless golden crown. He sat on the Demon Emperor's throne with a posture of a tiger crouching and dragon coiling. He was tall and his face was resolute and dignified. His deep eyes contained a domineering aura that looked down on the world. His appearance was 80% similar to Kun Wu's. To be exact, Kun Wu's handsome appearance was inherited from him. However, both father and son had different temperaments. Kun Wu was a flood dragon that flew out of the sea and into the sky. Its aura was fierce and overbearing, showing off its ability. On the other hand, the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor was a divine dragon that dominated the 9 heavens. He looked down on all living beings in the world and held millions of miles of land in his hands. His aura was even deeper and heavier, like the abyss and the sea. Kun Wu strode into the main hall with a majestic gait. He walked straight to the center of the main hall and greeted the Demon Emperor. "Greetings, Your Majesty. Your son pays his respects to Your Majesty." The Demon Emperor and the generals immediately stopped their discussion and looked at Kun Wu in unison. The officials and generals all smiled kindly and began to discuss in low voices. Isn't His Highness Kun Wu in the Monarch Mansion? Why are you back today? It's been a few months since we last met. Your Highness Kun Wu's aura has become even more tyrannical. It seems that your strength has also improved. His Highness Kun Wu is back at the right time. He might have a good suggestion for this matter. The heavenly net demon emperor stroked his beard and smiled with relief. He nodded slightly and said, "Kun Wu, you may rise. Why did you suddenly return to the imperial court today instead of cultivating in the monarch mansion?" Kun Wu cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Your Majesty, I have been investigating an extremely important matter. Recently, I finally found a clue and was about to find out the results. I hurriedly rushed back to report to Your Majesty." When the heavenly net demon emperor heard this, he raised his eyebrows and revealed an interested expression. "What are you investigating?" Kun Wu was stunned. He looked at the officials and generals in the imperial court and cupped his fists. "Your Majesty, please allow me to report this matter to you later." The heavenly net demon emperor and the generals in the main hall immediately understood what Kun Wu meant. They knew that this matter was not suitable to be mentioned in public. Thus, the heavenly net demon emperor nodded and said seriously, "In that case, let's continue with the morning court and discuss how to deal with the ancient demon emperor and the demon race." The officials and generals continued to discuss how to deal with the ancient demon emperor and the restless demon race. Kun Wu stood among the officials and quietly listened to everyone's discussion. Soon, he understood the meaning of this morning court session. It turned out that the imperial court of the demon race had received news that the ancient demon emperor had returned to the northern desert. According to the information obtained by the imperial court, the ancient demon emperor was currently hiding in the northern desert to recuperate and recover his strength. Although the ancient demon emperor had not made any moves yet, based on the demon race's understanding of the demon race, they concluded that the ancient demon emperor would definitely go on a killing spree after recovering his strength. For the past 1,000 years, the demon race had been without a leader. They were like a pile of loose sand and did not amount to much. And the ancient demon emperor was the demon lord that all the demon race in the world bowed to. After he returned to the northern desert, all the demon race's morale was boosted. Almost all the demon race thought that the ancient demon emperor's return to the northern desert meant that the demon race was about to rise again. The various demon tribes had been suppressed for thousands of years and finally could not hold back their bloodlust and killing. They became restless and began to harass the western wilderness border frequently. In the past few months, more than 10 demon race cities at the western wilderness border had been attacked and killed by the demon tribes. Hundreds of demon race citizens in villages and towns were cruelly massacred by the demon race. Many mines, herb gardens, beast gardens, and other cultivation resources were also crazily plundered by the demon tribes. The flames of war came frequently from the western wilderness border. The various demon race leaders all advised the imperial court to send reinforcements to defend against the demon race's attacks. The heavenly net demon emperor gathered the officials and generals today to discuss how to deal with the demon race's attacks and prevent the ancient demon emperor from starting a war after he recovered his strength. Kun Wu listened silently for an hour and realized that most of the generals and officials had the same idea as him. Since the demon race dared to invade the western wilderness and kill the demon race citizens, what was there to hesitate about? Even if the demon race had to use up all their manpower and resources, they had to fight to the death against the demon race army. Even if the 1 billion demon race citizens died in battle and blood dyed the mountains and rivers, the demon race would not back down. Since ancient times, the demon race had been the most oppressed and harmed by the demon race. They had an irreconcilable blood feud with the demon race that could not be resolved. Many of the generals were fired up and filled with fighting spirit. They all requested the heavenly net demon emperor to lead the troops to protect the western wilderness border. Seeing this, Kun Wu was relieved and did not say anything. The heavenly net demon emperor thought deeply and issued a series of orders. He sent out 12 brave and fierce generals to lead the troops to the border to defend the demon race. After 2 hours, the morning assembly finally ended. Chapter 668. The Heavenly Net Palace was the bedroom of the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and the Demon Empress. The palace was grand and majestic. The scenery in the palace was pleasant and filled with spirit energy. The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor brought Kun Wu into the Heavenly Net Palace and said, "Kun Wu, you're back today. You haven't paid your respects to your mother yet, right?" Kunwu followed behind the heavenly net demon emperor and replied respectfully, "Father, I've just returned to the imperial court and haven't paid my respects to my mother yet. It just so happens that I have something important to tell imperial mother as well." The heavenly net demon emperor nodded and said earnestly, "Kunwu, now that the ancient demon emperor has returned to the northern desert, I'm afraid he'll bring chaos to the world soon. Our demon race is about to face the invasion of the demon army, and there will be bloodshed in the future. You must cultivate hard in the Emperor Mansion and strive to reach the soul refinement realm as soon as possible. Only then can I be at ease." Kunwu understood the heavenly net demon emperor's worries and said solemnly, "Father, don't worry. I won't let you down." The father and son chatted as they walked. Soon, they entered the depths of the heavenly net palace and came to a spacious and bright hall. After the two of them took their seats, an obedient and witty demon clan maid came forward to greet them and serve them tea and snacks. The heavenly net demon emperor ordered the maid, "Go and invite the demon empress to the demon empress palace. Tell her that Prince Kunwu is back." The maid bowed and accepted the order. She hurriedly left to report the news. In the bedroom of the palace, there was a demonic woman of peerless beauty. She was sitting cross-legged on a large bed surrounded by gauze curtains. This demon lady in a moon-white dress looked to be in her 30s. She had lost her youthful temperament and exuded a graceful and noble aura. She had a slim figure and a beautiful face. She had long silver hair that reached her waist and a diamond-shaped silver mark on her forehead. Without a doubt, she was Kunwu's mother, Demon Empress Lingxing. Lingxing Demon Empress was meditating and cultivating. Her palms were placed in front of her, and bright starlight flickered in her palms. Her entire body was surrounded by an invisible divine soul power. At this moment, a maid walked to the door, bowed respectfully, and reported softly, "Lady Spirit Star, His Majesty the Demon Emperor and His Highness Kunwu are waiting for you in the main hall." Lingxing Demon Empress immediately stopped her cultivation and opened a pair of bright eyes. Her silver eyes were filled with gentleness. "My son Kunwu is back." Spirit Star Demon Empress flicked the sleeves of her long dress and got off the bed. She walked out of the bedroom in a graceful and dignified manner and walked towards the grand hall with her maidservant. Empress 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 Press Empress Press Press Empress 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 Empress. Seeing Lingxing Demon Empress, he quickly stood up and bowed. He smiled and said, "Mother, I'm here to greet you." Lingxing Demon Empress revealed a kind and amiable look. She nodded and said, "Kunwu, you just came back a few months ago. Even if you miss mother and father, you can't delay your cultivation." Kunwu shook his head and explained with a smile, "Mother, I came back this time because I have something important to report to you and father." "What is it?" Lingxing Demon Empress revealed a curious and expectant look. Kunwu waved his hand and dismissed all the maids and guards in the hall. Lingxing Demon Empress was even more confused when she saw this. She couldn't help but ask, "Kunwu, what's so mysterious?" As she spoke, she walked to Heavenly Net Demon Emperor's side and sat down. She extended her slender hand and released starlight to massage Heavenly Net Demon Emperor's left shoulder. Back then, Heavenly Net Demon Emperor fought with the water race experts in the Eastern Seas sinkhole. He was severely injured and had a body full of hidden ailments. The hidden injury on his left shoulder had yet to recover. Lingxing Demon Empress cultivated her medical skills and had to heal Heavenly Net Demon Emperor every day to ease his pain. Heavenly Net Demon Emperor patted the back of her hand gently and held her hand. He indicated that she didn't need to heal today and wanted to hear what Kunwu had to say first. When there were no outsiders in the hall, Kunwu said in a low voice, "Father, Mother, when I was 7 years old, you left the imperial court and went to the Eastern Seas sinkhole. When you came back, Mother was pregnant. You told me that it was my unborn sister, the demon race's little princess. We were so happy back then. I often talked to Mother's belly, thinking that I could chat with my sister." Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and Lingxing Demon Empress faces changed when they heard Kunwu's words. Their eyes were filled with deep sorrow. Lingxing Demon Empress' body trembled. She asked anxiously, "Kunwu, is the important thing you want to report related to your sister?" "That's right." Kunwu nodded and said seriously, "When my sister was born, I was sleeping soundly in my room and didn't know what happened. When I woke up the next day, I saw that the palace was in a mess. Later on, I found out that my sister had gone missing. I know that father and mother have been searching for my sister all these years and have never given up. I have also been secretly looking for her whereabouts." Kunwu paused for a moment. A gratified smile appeared on his handsome and resolute face. "Heaven has taken pity on me. I finally found some clues and made some progress. A few months ago, on the day I returned to Central State City, I saw a human girl in the crowd. She made me feel very close to her, and there was an invisible blood connection. Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and Lingxing Demon Empress were delighted. They looked at each other and saw the excitement and surprise in each other's eyes. Lingxing Demon Empress was stunned. She quickly asked, "Kunwu, is that girl your sister? But why is she a human?" Kunwu quickly explained, "Mother, that girl had yet to awaken her demon race bloodline, so she was in human form. However, I have been in contact with her for the past few months. She has also awakened her bloodline and is a descendant of our golden raccoon race. Although I am 80% sure that she is the sister that I have never met, I didn't tell her. But I didn't tell her about it. I only recently convinced her to return to the imperial court with me. As long as father uses the heaven mirror to drip blood on her, he will be able to determine if she is my sister." Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and Lingxing Demon Empress became more and more excited. It was as if the huge stone that had been pressing on their hearts for many years had finally disappeared. Lingxing Demon Empress' eyes were filled with tears. She asked anxiously, "Kunwu, where is your sister? Quickly bring us to see her." Kunwu shook his head and said solemnly, "Mother, that girl is called Jiku. She is now living in the Eastern Palace. I can bring her to see you immediately. However, she is willing to come back with me because I promised her that I would help her borrow my race's Ice Dragon Hammer. I know that the Ice Dragon Hammer is my race's treasure and can't be borrowed easily. Therefore, I didn't agree to her request immediately." Chapter 669. Kun Wu's way of speaking was very skillful. He was well aware of his father and mother's feelings. After his sister had gone missing, they were heartbroken and blamed themselves. Therefore, Kun Wu spoke of Ji Ku's background first, indicating that she might be his missing sister. When the Demon Emperor and Demon Empress were excited and could not wait to see Ji Ku, he then spoke of borrowing the Ice Dragon Hammer. This way, the Demon Emperor and Demon Empress would only want to see Ji Ku as soon as possible and would not refuse to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer. In Kun Wu's subconscious mind, he really wanted to help Ji Ku borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer. Indeed, before he finished speaking, Spirit Star Demon Empress quickly said, "Kun Wu, if she is really your sister, not to mention borrowing the Ice Dragon Hammer, what's wrong with giving it to her?" In the eyes of Spirit Star Demon Empress, no matter how precious the Ice Dragon Hammer was, how could it be more important than her daughter? On the other hand, Heavenly Net Demon Emperor, who had not spoken, was more cautious in this matter and could still remain calm. He lightly squeezed Spirit Star Demon Empress' hand and said with a calm tone, "Spirit Star, you don't have to be so absolute. Kun Wu also said that girl might be our daughter. We have to see her first and do a blood test before we can confirm her identity." Spirit Star Demon Empress turned to look at Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and frowned with anger. She said with a low voice, "Husband, what is with your attitude? Kun Wu spent a lot of effort and finally found our daughter. Are you not happy? Our daughter went missing when she was just born. It is already a miracle that she is still alive. She must have suffered a lot during these years of wandering outside. Now, the heavens have taken pity on us and sent her back to us. This is a blessing from the heavens. As long as our daughter can return to us, not to mention the Ice Dragon Hammer, even if she wants to borrow your Demon's Sealing Divine Sword, I will not hesitate." The Demon's Sealing Divine Sword was one of the top treasures of the Demon Clan. It was a primordial soul-level treasure and was known as a divine weapon in the Tianxian land. Most importantly, the Demon's Sealing Divine Sword was the Emperor's sword passed down from generation to generation in the Demon Imperial Court. Only the Demon Emperor who ruled the Imperial Court could wear and use it. With the demon's sealing godly sword in hand, one could command all the demons in the world. It was the supreme holy artifact of the demon race. The heavenly net demon emperor understood Ling Xing's feelings, but when he heard her words, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He shook his head helplessly. He held onto Demon Empress Ling Xing's hand and revealed a doting expression. He comforted her gently. Ling Xing, after my daughter went missing, I have been blaming myself. If the girl Kunwu brought back is really our daughter, of course I would be happier than anyone else. However, this matter is of great importance. Our daughter's identity is extraordinary, you know that. Hearing his words, the spirit star demon empress body stiffened. She seemed to have recalled something, and a strange look flashed across her eyes. She then whispered, "Husband, I was too agitated." The heavenly net demon emperor nodded with a gentle expression. He turned to Kunwu and solemnly said, "Kunwu, go and bring that girl over. Let Imperial Father and Imperial Mother have a look. If she really is our daughter, Royal Father will definitely lend her the Ice Dragon Hammer. If she is not your sister, Royal Father will have to reconsider this matter." Kunwu smiled and nodded. He cupped his hands and bowed. "Imperial Father and Imperial Mother, please wait for a moment. I will bring her over now." With that, Kunwu turned and left the main hall. After walking out of the main hall, he rushed back to the East Palace and found Ji Ku. Ji Ku and Ji Tianxing were sitting in the study room and talking softly. They were analyzing and guessing Kunwu's motive. After Kunwu entered the study room, he smiled and said, "Cuckoo, our luck is not bad. His Majesty the Demon Emperor is not in seclusion. He is waiting to see you in the Heavenly Net Palace. Let's go. I will bring you to the Heavenly Net Palace now to meet the Demon Emperor and Demon Empress." Hearing this, Ji Ku instantly revealed a look of anticipation. He asked, "Your Highness Kunwu, have you already told His Majesty the Demon Emperor about borrowing the Ice Dragon Hammer? What did His Majesty say?" Kunwu nodded and said, "I have already told him." His Majesty the Demon Emperor did not reject. "There is a high chance of success. However, you have to follow me to the Heavenly Net Palace first and meet them face to face." When Ji Ku heard the words, "a high chance of success," his eyes instantly revealed a look of joy and hope. He quickly got up and was about to leave with Kunwu. "I will go with you." Ji Tianxing also stood up and followed closely beside Ji Ku. Kunwu turned to look at him. He hesitated for a moment before nodding in agreement. After a while, Kunwu brought Ji Ku and Ji Tianxing into the main hall of the Heavenly Net Palace. When Ji Ku entered the main hall, the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and Spirit Star Demon Empress, who were sitting in the main hall, immediately stared at him. They sized him up excitedly. The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor could still maintain his composure. However, the Spirit Star Demon Empress had already pursed her lips. Her eyes were filled with tears again. Kunwu brought Ji Ku to the middle of the main hall and bowed to the Demon Emperor and Demon Empress. Ji Ku imitated his actions and bowed respectfully. "My daughter Ji Ku greets Your Majesty the Demon Emperor." "Greetings, Your Majesty the Demon Empress." The Spirit Star Demon Empress quickly raised her hand and used an invisible force to support Ji Ku. She said gently, "Child, quickly rise." Ji Ku was a little flattered. His heart was filled with confusion. He did not understand why the Demon Empress was so close to him. At this moment, the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor said, "Ji Ku, Kunwu has already told me about your background. I believe you also know that you are not a human. You are a descendant of the Golden Raccoon race." Ji Ku had already expected this. Hence, he was not surprised. His expression was still calm and composed. She secretly circulated her skills and removed her disguise. She revealed her true appearance as a member of the Golden Raccoon race. Instantly, her hands turned into little furry claws. A pair of cute little ears grew out from her temples. There was even a furry tail behind her. When the Spirit Star Demon Empress saw her true appearance, her body trembled. Her eyes were filled with deep admiration. She was 70% to 80% sure that Ji Ku was her long-lost daughter. After all, her divine soul could sense that Ji Ku had a kinship with her. Blood was thicker than water. The heavenly net demon emperor's divine soul also sensed Ji-Ku's aura. He could not help but feel excited. He continued, Ji-Ku, I will talk to you later about your request to borrow the ice dragon hammer. Now, I want to tell you about a past event. 16 years ago, I had a son with the demon empress. His name was Kun Wu. He was already 7 years old then. That year, I went to the Eastern Sea's sinkhole with the demon empress to fight the dragon race's experts. We wandered around the sinkhole for half a year. During this time, the demon empress became pregnant again. It was a girl. She was also the future princess of my race. Ji-Ku did not understand why the heavenly net demon emperor wanted to talk about this. However, she stood respectfully in the hall and listened quietly. Ji Tianxing stood quietly at the side. When he heard the heavenly net demon emperor's story, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. He vaguely guessed something. Chapter 670. Ji Tianxing thought of a possibility and was suddenly enlightened. If Cuckoo is really the Demon King and Demon Queen's daughter, then she is the princess of the Demon Clan and Kun Wu's younger sister. No wonder Kun Wu often came to find Cuckoo and cared for her so much. No wonder he was willing to help Cuckoo borrow the ice dragon hammer and bring her back to the Demon Imperial Court. I really didn't expect Cuckoo's background to be so strange. After a while, the Heavenly Net Demon King roughly recounted the events of that year. No matter how naive Ji-Ku was, she still felt that something was amiss with hindsight. She looked a little terrified and revealed a look of disbelief. She asked the Heavenly Net Demon King, Your Majesty, do you mean I have something to do with your missing daughter? The Heavenly Net Demon King nodded and said in a serious tone, Ji-Ku, I am 80% sure that you are our daughter. Hearing this, Ji-Ku was instantly stunned and revealed a look of disbelief. How is this possible? Her heart was immediately in a mess. She was at a loss and her emotions were extremely complicated. She raised her head and looked at the Heavenly Net Demon King and Lingxing Demon Queen, then turned to look at Kun Wu. The three of them nodded at her and even revealed a warm and amiable smile. Seeing their reactions, Ji-Ku became even more anxious and uneasy. She didn't know what to do and didn't know what to say. She turned her head to look at Ji Tianxing, who was beside her, and saw that Ji Tianxing was also looking at her with an encouraging gaze. That gaze seemed to have given her great courage and gradually calmed her down. She bowed to the Heavenly Net Demon King and said calmly, Your Majesty, please forgive me for speaking bluntly. This is only your speculation and can't be confirmed. When I found out about my background, I returned to the Qingyun Kingdom in the Tianshan region and asked my father for confirmation. My father gave me a pendant and said that it was the accessory I was wearing when he found me. Perhaps it has something to do with my background. After saying that, Ji took out a dark gold pendant from his spatial ring. This pendant was a delicate and nimble golden lock, strung together by a silver bead chain, exuding a mysterious and simple aura. When the Heaven Net Demon Emperor and the Spirit Star Demon Empress saw the golden lock, their eyes widened in surprise. The Spirit Star Demon Empress extended her hand and took the golden lock into her palm. She held the golden lock and carefully observed it for a moment. Her expression became more and more excited. She reached out and gently stroked the golden lock and the beaded chain. Clear tears gushed out of her eyes. That's it. It's this longevity lock that your father personally refined for you. Child, on the night you were born, it was your mother who strung the longevity lock together with the heavenly star chain and put it on your body. Seeing the longevity lock and the heavenly star chain, Spirit Star Demon Empress no longer had any misgivings. She was very sure that Ji-Ku was her daughter. She walked in front of Ji-Ku with tears in her eyes. She opened her arms and hugged Ji-Ku. She used her face to rub Ji-Ku's long hair and sobbed softly. Child, my poor child. After 16 years, your mother has finally found you. Thank the heavens for their blessings and returning our daughter to us. Spirit Star Demon Empress had mixed feelings. Her tears flowed uncontrollably. She was both emotional and happy. Ji-Ku was still in her embrace. She was still not used to this sudden motherly love. Her body was a little stiff, and she didn't know where to put her hands. Although Heaven Net Demon Emperor was the leader of the demon race, he was also gratified to see his daughter who had been missing for 16 years. His eyes were a little moist. No one knew how angry and pained he and Spirit Star Demon Empress were when Jiku went missing on the night she was born. However, he was still a super expert who had been through countless storms. His heart was as firm as a rock and was incomparably calm. Even though he was sure that Jiku was his long-lost daughter, he didn't lose his composure. He stood up and walked to the center of the hall. He came in front of Jiku and said in a low voice, "Child, although your father is sure that you are our daughter, this matter is very important. However, this matter is of great importance. Imperial Father will have to ask the Heavenly Mirror to perform a blood test as a final test." Jiku thought for a moment and probed, "Your Majesty Demon Emperor, can you lend me the Ice Dragon Hammer after I drip my blood to confirm my relationship?" Heaven Net Demon Emperor didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He quickly nodded and said, "Silly child, you are my daughter. Why would I reject you?" Only then did Jiku feel relieved and completely at ease. She turned to look at Ji Tianxing and revealed a gratified expression. Although she didn't say anything, Ji Tianxing could read her eyes. She was clearly saying, "Big brother Tianxing, you can rest assured now. I finally helped you borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer." Ji Tianxing's emotions were instantly complicated. He looked at her with a doting gaze and sighed in his heart. "Kugu, you silly girl." After a while, Heaven Net Demon Emperor got Kun Wu to personally bring the sky mirror. This mirror was a palm-sized dark green bronze mirror. It was simple and unadorned, and its edges had long been polished smooth. The edges of the bronze mirror were engraved with a hollow pattern. At the end of the mirror was a handle with ancient demon race ciphertext engraved on it. Although this bronze mirror looked unremarkable, it was a top-notch soul-grade Dharma treasure. It was comparable to the Ice Dragon Hammer and was also one of the demon race's rare treasures. This treasure could identify bloodlines and souls. It could also see the demon race's past and present lives. It could also move mountains and fill seas, summon the wind and rain, and communicate with heaven and earth. Heaven Net Demon Emperor held the sky mirror in his left hand and formed a seal with his right hand. He shot out a few streaks of 5-colored spiritual light into the mirror. The mirror immediately emitted an invisible majestic energy. It lit up with a dazzling 5-colored brilliance and became a halo. It was extremely dazzling. Heaven Net Demon Emperor channeled his energy again and forced out a drop of blood from his heart. He dripped it onto the mirror from the tip of his right index finger. His blood was like liquid gold. It emitted a dazzling golden light and an incomparably powerful spirit chi. The golden blood droplets fell on the mirror and were immediately absorbed by the mirror. They turned into pure golden smoke that rose in spirals and danced in the air like a small golden dragon. Heaven Net Demon Emperor looked at Jiku and said kindly, "Child, come." Jiku pursed her lips and hesitated for a moment. She slowly stretched out her right hand and channeled her energy to force out a drop of blood from her heart. She dripped it onto the sky mirror. Although her cultivation was still shallow, the blood from her heart contained a trace of gold. It was very pure. The drop of blood was immediately absorbed by the sky mirror. It also turned into a weak golden dragon that spiraled in the air. The two golden dragons sensed each other's aura and immediately gathered together happily. In the blink of an eye, they became one and merged perfectly. Heaven Net Demon Emperor, Spirit Star Demon Empress, and Kun Wu were all excited when they saw this. Spirit Star Demon Empress' tears fell like rain again. She hugged Jiku and cried. Chapter 671. The Divine Mirror showed that Jiku's bloodline was perfectly compatible with the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor's. This proved that she was the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor's daughter. Jiku also understood this point. She was immediately stunned, and her expression and mood became extremely complicated. The Spirit Star Demon Empress hugged her and cried. The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor also walked over and hugged her and the Spirit Star Demon Empress. Kun Wu was even more surprised. He revealed an excited smile and couldn't help but exclaim, "Cuckoo, my intuition was right. You are indeed my little sister." At this moment, His temperament was no longer as cold and unruly as before. His eyes were actually a little red. The demon emperor's family hugged each other tightly. Their eyes were filled with tears. They were emotional. Fortunately, there were only the four of them and Ji Tianxing in the hall. There were no guards or maidservants present. If those guards and maidservants saw this, their eyeballs would probably fall to the ground from shock. Who would dare to believe that the incomparably noble, sacred, and dignified demon lord and demon empress would actually lose their composure like this? After all, the demon race placed more emphasis on blood ties and relationships than other races, especially the heavenly net demon emperor and demon empress. They had accompanied each other for more than 200 years and were still incomparably loving. The heavenly net demon emperor was the leader of the demon race, but he didn't take in any concubines. He only doted on the spirit star demon empress. This was truly a pair for life. If the two of them had a son and a daughter, their lives would be complete and perfect. Back then, Ji Ku went missing on the night she was born. The demon emperor and demon empress were in great pain and tried their best to search for her for more than 10 years. Now that they had found their beloved daughter, how could they not lose their composure? When Ji Tianxing saw the demon emperor and his family hugging each other, he didn't feel strange or awkward at all. Instead, he felt a strong sense of familial love. Ji Ku was able to figure out her background, find her parents, and reunite with them. This was a joyous matter. Based on the demon emperor and demon empress attitude towards her, they would definitely dote on her and wouldn't let her suffer. In fact, the demon emperor and demon empress would even make it up to her and be more obedient to her. Ji Tianxing thought to himself that this should be the best ending for Ji Ku. He was happy and gratified for Ji Ku. In the future, with the demon emperor and demon empress taking care of Ji Ku, he didn't have to worry anymore. After a long while, everyone finally calmed down. The spirit star demon empress released her embrace and held Ji Ku's hand as she lowered her head and wiped her tears. Ji Ku wiped away the tears in his eyes and stared at the spirit star demon empress and the heavenly net demon emperor. He asked in a choked voice, "Demon emperor, demon empress?" Hearing how she addressed them, the spirit star demon empress quickly extended her hand to interrupt her and said gently, "Silly child, you should call them Majesty Father and Majesty Mother in the future." Ji Ku pursed his lips and fell silent for a moment before continuing to ask, "Imperial Father, Imperial Mother, since you love me so much and have been searching for me for so many years, why did you abandon me back then? Leaving me stranded outside?" The spirit star demon empress quickly shook her head and explained in a painful tone, "Child, you are the apple of our eye, our most beloved daughter. How could we abandon you? When I gave birth to your brother, Kun Wu, your imperial father and I both wanted a daughter. If we could have both children, we would have no regrets in life. However, when I was pregnant with your brother, I had a huge battle with a devil race expert. My fetus was affected and my body was injured. After giving birth to your brother, I couldn't conceive for a full 7 years. Until that year, your imperial father and I went to the eastern seas returning ruins and coincidentally obtained the heavenly star chain. It was then that I was blessed by the heavens and finally got pregnant with you." The spirit star demon empress eyes revealed a look of reminiscence as she recounted the past in a low voice. When she mentioned the heavenly star chain, a strange look flashed across the heavenly net demon emperor's eyes. He quickly interrupted her and didn't let her continue. The heavenly net demon emperor took over the conversation and said earnestly to Ji Ku, "Child, when we found out that you were a girl, both imperial father and imperial mother were very happy. Your brother, Kun Wu, also pestered your imperial mother all day long. He wanted to talk to you through your belly and hoped that you would be born soon. On the night you were born, the imperial court was brightly lit and joyous. Everyone was waiting for your birth. However, not long after you were born that night, the sky changed color and the clouds became chaotic. Lightning and fire rained down from the sky. At that time, your imperial mother had just given birth to you. Her body was weak and she was in a coma. Imperial father was excited and happy. He was drinking with the officials and generals at the banquet. However, a mysterious purple-robed expert sneaked into the imperial court. While Imperial Father and Imperial Mother were unprepared, he killed the female official and wet nurse who were taking care of you and kidnapped you. Imperial Father and Imperial Mother sensed that something was amiss and desperately chased after that purple-robed expert, wanting to take you back. However, that damned bastard was very strong. Even Imperial Father and Imperial Mother weren't his match. When the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor said this, Ji Ku and Ji Tianxing basically understood what had happened. Without a doubt, Ji Ku wasn't abandoned by the Demon Emperor and Demon Empress. Instead, he was kidnapped by a mysterious expert. Ji Tianxing immediately frowned and revealed a puzzled expression. Your Majesty, I heard that you have already reached the peak of the soul refinement realm and are a half-step essence soul realm expert. Since you and the Demon Empress couldn't defeat that mysterious expert, doesn't that mean that person's strength has reached the essence soul realm? In today's Tianxian continent, there are only a handful of essence soul realm experts. They are rare existences. You have been searching for Ji Ku all these years. Didn't you find out the identity of that mysterious expert? The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor looked at him deeply. He was obviously surprised by his quick thinking. Young man, you are right. There are only a few essence soul realm experts in the world today. I once suspected the human race's Imperial Emperor and another person, but I couldn't find any concrete evidence. Until now, I still can't confirm the identity of that mysterious expert. Ji Tianxing nodded and didn't say anything else. However, he could vaguely feel that Ji Ku's background was extraordinary. Perhaps she wasn't just a demon princess. Otherwise, Ji Ku wouldn't have been kidnapped by an essence soul realm expert on the night she was born. Later on, she wandered to the human race's Qingyun kingdom and was carried out of the river by a koi. At this moment, the demon empress saw that everyone was silent and the atmosphere was heavy. She smiled gently and said, "All right, let's talk about the past and the future. The heavens took pity on us and finally sent our daughter back to us. This is a huge surprise and also a gift from the heavens to our family." The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor nodded heavily and said in a serious tone, "Ku must have suffered a lot all these years. From today onwards, I will make it up to her and never let her suffer again." Chapter 672. Ji Tianxing and Ji Ku stayed in the Demon Imperial Court. The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and the Spirit Star Demon Empress doted on Ji Ku and took good care of her. She felt the love and care from her family and gradually accepted her identity and adapted to the environment and life in the Imperial Court. Soon a day passed. That night, the Demon Emperor held a banquet in the Heavenly Net Palace to welcome Ji Ku and Ji Tianxing. There were only 5 people at the banquet: the Demon Emperor and the Demon Empress, their family of 4, and Ji Tianxing. After the banquet ended, everyone sat in the main hall to drink tea and chat. Ji Ku mentioned to the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor that she wanted to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer. The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor agreed without hesitation. However, he still asked curiously, "Ku, why do you want to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer?" Ji Ku hesitated for a moment, considering whether to tell the truth or not. However, Ji Tianxing was magnanimous and immediately explained, "Your Majesty, Ku wants to borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer to help me. I have encountered a troublesome problem and need the Ice Dragon Hammer's power to solve it." The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor had already expected this and turned to look at Ji Tianxing. Kuan-Wu had already introduced Ji Tianxing to him, and he knew that Ji Tianxing and Ji Ku were like siblings and had a close relationship. Moreover, Ji Tianxing was the emperor of the monarch residence, the #1 genius of the human race, and the region lord of the Tianqian region. The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor had also heard of Ji Tianxing's achievements in the Middle State and his reputation and legends. Thus, the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor nodded and agreed. "Ji Tianxing, I will borrow the Ice Dragon Hammer tomorrow and teach you how to use it." Ji Tianxing quickly bowed and thanked him. "Thank you, Your Majesty, for your help. I will definitely return it to you after using it." At this moment, Kuan-Wu said to the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor with a grave expression, "Imperial Father, there's something I've wanted to report to you for a long time. There was a mysterious and powerful force hidden in Ku's soul. It would erupt from time to time and endanger her life. Previously, when we were in Central Continent City, Your son could only think of a way to temporarily suppress it for her, but I was powerless to resolve this matter. Hearing this, the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and the Spirit Star Demon Empress were stunned for a moment. Their eyes were filled with worry and pity. The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor extended his right hand with a serious expression. He released a mysterious and powerful spiritual energy to check on Ji-Ku's soul. A moment later, when he detected the mysterious power in Ji-Ku's soul, a strange look flashed across his eyes. Spirit Star Demon Empress had been staring at him, and when she saw his reaction, she quickly transmitted a message and asked, "Husband, how is Kuku's condition?" The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor exchanged a glance with her and sent a telepathic message. Ling Xing, the mysterious power in Ku's soul is demonic power. It is that power. Surprise flashed across the Spirit Star Demon Empress' eyes. She quickly asked, "Husband, are you talking about the Heavenly Star Chain?" The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor nodded slightly and said with a surprised tone, "Spirit Star, the situation is just as we guessed back then. Our daughter's background is extraordinary. It is very likely that she is the reincarnation of an almighty. If the power hidden in her soul can be completely refined and absorbed, she will definitely become a peerless prodigy of our clan. In the future, her achievements will be even greater than mine." Hearing his evaluation, the Spirit Star Demon Empress was even more shocked and delighted. At this moment, Kun Wu saw the Demon Emperor and Demon Empress looking at each other and seemed to be secretly transmitting a message. She couldn't help but ask, "Father, Mother, how is Kuku's condition? Can it be resolved?" Only then did the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and Spirit Star Demon Empress stop transmitting a message. Their expressions returned to normal. The Heavenly Net Demon Emperor stroked his beard and nodded calmly. "Kun Wu, you don't have to worry too much. Of course, Father can resolve Kuku's predicament. However, this problem is a little tricky. It might take a long time." Hearing the Demon Emperor's words, Kun Wu, Ji-Ku, and Ji Tianxing finally heaved a sigh of relief. The Demon Emperor and Demon Empress were powerful soul refinement experts with remarkable abilities. They were also the masters of the Demon Imperial Court. They controlled the entire demon race's power and resources. Although Ji-Ku's situation was very complicated, they still had a way to deal with it. However, Ji-Ku's problem couldn't be solved overnight. She had to stay in the Demon Imperial Court for a long time. Under the care of the Demon Emperor and Demon Empress, she had to slowly refine the mysterious power hidden in her soul. Thinking about this problem, Ji-Ku was a little hesitant and didn't agree for the time being. Ji Tianxing could tell what she was thinking. He smiled and comforted her. "Kuku, you can stay in the Imperial Court with peace of mind. Let His Majesty the Demon Emperor help you refine that power. Don't worry. Once I'm done, I will come back to visit you. Furthermore, once your problem is completely resolved, you can return to the central region whenever you want." Hearing his words, Ji-Ku nodded and agreed. When the Demon Emperor and Demon Empress saw this, they couldn't help but look at Ji Tianxing again. They felt a trace of gratitude towards him. Moreover, Ji-Ku might not listen to their advice, but she listened to Ji Tianxing's words. This also made them understand how important Ji Tianxing was to Ji-Ku. The night passed quickly. Early the next morning, the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor asked for the Ice Dragon Hammer. He lent it to Ji Tianxing and taught him how to use it. Ji Tianxing solemnly put away the Ice Dragon Hammer and cultivated in the secret room for an entire day. He thoroughly comprehended the Ice Dragon Hammer's control technique. Every soul-grade magic treasure had a corresponding control technique. Ji Tianxing could only unleash the true power of the Ice Dragon Hammer after mastering the Ice Dragon art. On the third day, the Imperial Court held a grand coronation ceremony. The Demon Emperor, Demon Empress, and Prince Kun Wu led hundreds of officials and generals to hold a ceremony on the altar. They crowned Ji-Ku in front of everyone and conferred her the title of princess. From now on, Ji-Ku was the little princess of the Demon Imperial Court. She was one of the most honorable people. Furthermore, the Imperial Court had already announced the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor's edict. It would soon spread throughout the entire Western wilderness. On the fourth morning, Ji Tianxing was about to leave the imperial court and return to the central region. Kun Wu and Ji Ku sent him to the sky-fleeing tower and waved goodbye to him. Ji Ku knew that after parting with Ji Tianxing, she didn't know how long she would have to wait before seeing him again. She was a little depressed and sad. She looked at Ji Tianxing reluctantly and tearfully reminded him. Big brother Tianxing, after you return to the central region, you must be careful. Don't be reckless. If you have any difficulties, tell us. We will help you think of a solution. Don't take on everything by yourself. Ji Tianxing smiled and nodded. He also reminded her, Cuckoo, stay in the imperial court and cultivate in peace. Solve the hidden danger in your soul as soon as possible. I believe that you will be able to reunite with us in the central region soon. After saying that, he looked at Kun Wu and cupped his hands with a sincere expression. He said, Your Highness Kun Wu, please take care of Cuckoo. I believe you will not let her suffer, right? Chapter 673. Under the watchful eyes of Kun Wu and Ji Ku, Ji Tianxing stepped into the portal on the sky-fleeing tower. Swoosh! A dazzling white light flashed and swallowed his figure. In the next moment, he crossed 100,000 miles and returned to the secret chamber in the Star Moon Manor. The secret chamber was as dark as ever, flickering with colorful spiritual light. There were also several elite guards guarding it. When the guards saw Ji Tianxing, they hurriedly bowed to greet him. One of them led him out of the secret chamber, through many corridors and palaces, and arrived at the gate of the Star Moon Manor. Ji Tianxing left the Star Moon Manor and returned to Zhongzhou City as fast as lightning. 2 hours later, he returned to the Tianxing Palace in the Monarch Mansion. He sat on the throne in the main hall and listened to the guard captain report to him. After listening, he found out that Yen was still in seclusion in the secret chamber to heal her injuries. Yun Yao had come to the Tianxing Palace once before and left when she learned that he was not in the palace. Ji Tianxing waved his hand to signal the guard captain to leave. Then, he got up and left the main hall, flying to Yun Yao Palace. An hour later, he entered Yun Yao Palace and saw Yun Yao meditating and cultivating. Yun Yao was relieved to see that he had returned safe and sound. She quickly led him into the secret chamber to talk. After the two of them entered the secret chamber and sat down, Yun Yao asked in a concerned tone, Tianxing, where have you been these days? You haven't done anything to the Duanmu family's herb garden, have you? Ji Tianxing nodded and asked with some doubt, I went to the Demon Imperial Court these days and haven't started my operation yet. Yao Yao, what happened? Did the situation in the Duanmu family's herb garden change? Yun Yao frowned slightly and said in a serious tone, I know that you are going to start your operation soon, so I sent several commanders of the Hidden Cloud Pavilion to carefully investigate the situation in the herb garden. In the past 2 to 3 years, the Duanmu family's protection of the herb garden has become more and more strict. Other than the strange ancient beasts guarding the herb garden, the number of herb garden guards had also more than doubled. Besides, the Duanmu clan has a few extra guards. They are all level 5 or 6 sky origin stage cultivators. Ji Tianxing frowned slightly as a cold light flashed in his eyes. The defensive power of the herb garden had doubled, doubling the difficulty of his movements. It was indeed a troublesome matter. Fortunately, Yun Yao had sent a spy to investigate in advance. Otherwise, he would most likely be at a disadvantage if he acted rashly. At this moment, Yun Yao asked again, By the way, Tianxing, why are you going to the Demon Imperial Court? I asked Senior Beast King, and he said that the demon race's magic treasure, Ice Dragon Hammer, can restrain the firebird of heavenly wind. Ji Tianxing explained the cause of the matter from beginning to end. After he finished speaking, Yun Yao revealed an extremely shocked expression and asked in disbelief, Junior sister Ji Ku is actually the daughter of the Heavenly Net Demon Emperor and the Spirit Star Demon Empress? This was too inconceivable. I didn't expect her background to be so bizarre. Ji Tianxing nodded and said seriously, Ku's matter has been settled. I believe she will be able to get rid of the danger soon and improve her strength. I have already borrowed the Ice Dragon Hammer. Next, I have to act as soon as possible. Yun Yao nodded slightly in agreement and said in a deep voice, Tianxing, according to the Hidden Cloud Pavilion's investigation, the Duanmu clan's internal strife is getting more and more intense. The Shadow Palace's matter has not been settled yet. A few other forces are also taking advantage of the situation to add insult to injury. Duanmu Huang has been having a headache recently. However, the second elder and the third elder of the Duanmu clan have already started to act. They have sent out a large number of powerful cultivators to secretly investigate your whereabouts. They may assassinate you at any time. Hearing this, Ji Tianxing's lips curled into a cold smile. Since that is the case, I have to act faster. Let's see if they still have the energy to assassinate me after I destroy the Duanmu clan's herb garden. Yun Yao took out a scroll from her interspatial ring and solemnly handed it to him. Tianxing, this is the map of the herb garden drawn by the Hidden Cloud Pavilion's commanders recently. If you want to act faster, then get ready as soon as possible. I'll accompany you. Without waiting for her to finish, Ji Tianxing shook his head and refused. He sternly said, Yao Yao, I can only act alone. You can't come with me. This matter is of great importance and I can't involve you. Otherwise, the Yun clan will be involved. At that time, my cooperation with your father will be affected and the imperial court will definitely intervene. I'm afraid there will be more unforeseen events. Yun Yao looked worried. She held his wrist and said in a concerned tone, but it's more dangerous for you to act alone. If something happens, Ji Tianxing held her slender hand and comforted her gently. Yao Yao, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. After some persuasion, Yun Yao agreed to not participate in the operation and stay in the emperor residence to wait for news. However, she was still worried and solemnly warned Ji Tianxing. An hour later, the two of them agreed on the operation plan. After everything was ready, Ji Tianxing left Yun Yao Palace. It was noon and the sun was shining brightly in the sky. Ji Tianxing didn't return to Tianxing Palace. Instead, he left the emperor residence at lightning speed and rushed to the mango forest in the southeast of Central State. Now that he had the ice dragon hammer, he couldn't wait to destroy the Duanmu clan's herb garden. To be safe, he acted alone with only the little black dragon and Qianyu by his side. After flying for more than 20 hours, he finally entered the depths of the mango forest on the evening of the second day and arrived near a herb garden. He hid in the clouds in the sky and looked down at the situation below. He was in the depths of the mango forest, where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was the densest and most abundant. It was more than 1,000 miles away from Azure Wood City. All around him was a boundless dark green forest that covered the undulating mountain ranges. 30 miles in front of Ji Tianxing, there was a basin surrounded by mountains that had a radius of 100 miles. The water and earth in that basin nourished spiritual energy and was extremely rich in the aura of green wood. It was the most suitable place for growing and cultivating medicinal herbs. There was no doubt that the Duanmu clan had turned that basin into a herb garden and cultivated an endless amount of spiritual herbs. Looking down from the sky, Ji Tianxing could clearly see that there was a huge 5-colored wall of light above the basin that protected the entire herb garden. In the herb garden, countless square herb gardens were neatly arranged. They were filled with lush spiritual herbs that emitted a light green aura of wood. There were also several ancient and majestic palaces at the entrance to the herb garden. These were the residences of the guards and herbalists, as well as the storehouses where the herbs were stored. Teams of black-armored guards could be seen faintly in and around the herb garden. They were patrolling the area with swords and armors. Ji Tianxing observed silently and quickly came up with a plan in his heart. The Duanmu clan has built a total of 4 herb gardens in the mango forest. They are called the 100 Herb Garden, the Spirit Herb Garden, the Azure Wood Garden, and the Longevity Garden. The 4 herb gardens are scattered around Azure Wood City and are separated by over 1,000 miles. I'll start with the 100 Herb Garden. Even if the Duanmu clan hears the news and comes to help, it will take at least several hours. Brothers, I'm very sorry. I've been troubled by mundane affairs lately and have been under great pressure. Chapter 674. Ji Tianxing had seen the map Yun Yao gave him long ago, so he knew the layout of the medicine garden like the back of his hand. When night descended, the 100-flower garden fell into silence and darkness both inside and outside. Only the few palaces at the entrance of the 100-flower garden faintly revealed a bit of light. Ji Tianxing was like a ghost that streaked across the night sky and silently descended into the mountain forest at the side of the 100-flower garden. He held his breath and concentrated as he hid in the forest, then secretly used his spiritual sense to observe for a moment. After confirming that there was no one nearby, he started to break open the 100-flower garden's defensive formation. Amongst the Duanmu clan's 4 medicine gardens, the longevity garden's medicinal herbs were the most precious, and its defense was the tightest as well. The longevity garden had a soul-rank defensive formation set up, and it was even guarded by the firestorm bird. The defensive strength of this 100-flower garden was comparatively weaker. It only had a high-grade heaven origin grade defensive formation, 200 guards, and 4 guard commanders. Ji Tianxing silently moved through the forest, and after observing for an hour, he figured out the 100-flower garden's defensive formation. This was a high-grade heaven origin grade defensive formation that utilized the 9 cauldrons universe, azure wood myriad spirit, and cloud mist concealment. Not only did this defensive formation possess a formidable defensive strength, it was also able to gather the azure wood spirit energy within 1,000 miles to irrigate the spirit herbs and flowers within the garden. With Ji Tianxing's attainments in the formation Dao, breaking open this high-grade heaven origin grade defensive formation wasn't difficult. He borrowed the strength of the mountain and river seal, and only used an hour to break open a concealed gap in the defensive formation. However, just as he was about to pass through the gap and enter the formation, he suddenly stopped moving. His spiritual sense detected that in the mountain forest 400 meters to his left, there was a group of guards in black armor that were rushing towards his hiding place. That group of guards wasn't patrolling normally, and their speed was extremely swift and their aura was fierce and icy cold. Obviously, they'd noticed the unusual situation. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the blink of an eye, 10 guards rushed to the scene like a bolt of lightning and stopped in the forest 100 meters away from Ji Tianxing. The strength of this group of guards had all attained the 8th and 9th level of the origin core stage, and their entire bodies emitted an icy cold and murderous aura. Obviously, they were elite soldiers. Their eyes were as sharp as an eagle's as they looked down and sized up their surroundings. They also released their spiritual senses to explore the surrounding situation. The leader of the guards waved his hand and ordered in a deep voice, "Just now, there were array formation energy fluctuations here. Everyone, spread out and search carefully. We must find out the reason." "Understood." The other 9 guards shouted in unison. Then, they spread out and released their spiritual senses to search. Seeing this, Ji Tianxing immediately frowned, and his eyes became gloomy. He hid in the dark forest, not moving at all, not revealing the slightest bit of true essence fluctuation. Even so, there were still 2 guards walking towards his hiding place. No matter how well Ji Tianxing hid, when the 2 guards got close, they would still discover him and find a gap in the defensive formation. Thus, Ji Tianxing made up his mind. A cold light flashed in his eyes. "Since you're courting death, then don't blame me for going on a killing spree." He silently muttered in his heart, then his figure flashed and floated out. He transformed into a black shadow that was like a ghost as he silently tore through the night sky and instantly arrived behind a guard. Then he stretched out his hand like a bolt of lightning to grab towards the guard's throat. That guard had just noticed something was wrong and hadn't even reacted when his throat was grabbed by a large hand. Crack! An imperceptible sound of bones shattering sounded out. This guard's throat was instantly crushed, and dark red blood flowed out from his mouth as he died on the spot. Ji Tianxing threw the guard's corpse on the ground, then swiftly charged towards another guard like a phantom. That guard was staring at the ground with a fierce gaze, searching for clues. He still didn't know what had happened. He only felt his throat tighten, then his vision went black and he fell into eternal darkness. After Ji Tianxing easily killed 2 guards, his figure flashed and vanished, then he continued to assassinate the other few guards. In the next 100 breaths of time, one after another black armored guards were attacked and quietly assassinated by Ji Tianxing. After 100 breaths of time, 7 out of 10 guards had been killed. The last 3 guards finally realized that something was wrong and let out a panicked and angry roar. The captain of the guards found the corpse in the forest and knew that they had been attacked. He immediately took out a signal arrow and was about to send a signal to inform the captain of the guards in the herb garden. Ji Tianxing didn't care about hiding his aura anymore. He rushed towards the captain of the guards as fast as a stream of light. He fiercely slapped the captain away, smashing the signal arrow into pieces. The captain of the guards was sent flying backwards while vomiting blood. His chest was deeply caved in, and his heart and internal organs had been shattered. He died on the spot. The other 2 guards saw the captain of the guards being killed with a single palm strike, and they were scared out of their wits. They turned around and fled, but they didn't forget to scream in horror. Ji Tianxing rushed up with a cold expression and killed one of the guards with a single palm strike. He then released a golden sword light and killed another guard from 100 meters away. The 10 guards were all killed, but it also made a lot of noise and woke up the guards in the herb garden. Suddenly, more than a dozen dazzling true essence lights lit up in the herb garden, and there was a burst of shouting. Ji Tianxing saw that the guards in the herb garden were alarmed, so he didn't delay any longer and didn't hide his aura. He passed through the gap in the array as fast as the wind and got into the herb garden. He rushed to the center of the herb garden as fast as lightning. The guards in the herb garden immediately rushed over like a swarm of bees, waving their sabers and swords as they shouted to kill. Someone broke into the herb garden. Stop him. Kill him. Those who break into the herb garden will be killed without mercy. When Ji Tianxing flew to the center of the herb garden, more than 30 guards also rushed over and surrounded him. Moreover, there were even more guards who were alerted from all directions and were rushing over as fast as lightning. Ji Tianxing stood in the night sky and looked down at the guards in the herb garden on the ground below. His eyes became cold and indifferent. There was a flash in his left palm, and the black dragon sword appeared out of thin air. Qianyu also flew out of the 100 treasures brocade pouch, flapping his wings and floating in the air. Ji Tianxing said in a low voice, "Qianyu, do your best to destroy the herb garden. I will take care of these guards." "No problem, I am the best at destroying things." Qianyu quickly agreed and released a dazzling icy blue brilliance. It condensed into thousands of ice blades and frost swords and poured down on the herb garden below. The guards on the ground were shocked and quickly counterattacked, blocking the cold light from the blades and swords that fell from the sky. They wanted to protect the herb garden. However, Ji Tianxing had already pulled out the black dragon sword and fiercely slashed at the ground. Dragon soars from the 9th heaven. A 30-meter-long ice dragon appeared out of thin air and with an invincible power, it slashed at the ground below. Boom! In a deafening sound, more than a dozen guards who couldn't dodge in time were killed by the ice dragon. Chapter 675. The ground was shaking as cracks appeared all over the ground. The 20 or so guards who were lucky enough to survive were scared out of their wits as they let out terrified screams. A few patches of the herb garden were destroyed on the spot. The flowers and herbs that grew there were also turned into dregs by the violent qi. Qianyu's swords and blades carried with them a bone-chilling coldness as they landed on the ground within a kilometer radius. Instantly, the ground within a kilometer radius turned into frozen soil. The surviving flowers and herbs were also frozen to death on the spot. Once the 100-flower spirit herbs in the herb garden matured and were sold in the market, they could fetch at least 20 to 30,000 spirit stones. If the Duanmu clan made them into dawn, their value would be multiplied by a few times, reaching at least 100,000 spiritual stones. Ji Tianxing's interspatial ring contained all kinds of spiritual stones, dawn, and gems. They were only worth 40,000 to 50,000 spiritual stones. He destroyed tens of thousands of spiritual stones worth of herbs in one move, but he did not feel the slightest bit of heartache. Instead, he was even more excited. After all, those herbs belonged to the Duanmu clan. Moreover, killing and wantonly destruction would make people excited and restless. Ji Tianxing did not hesitate to swing his sword again. A blinding ray of light shot out and slashed at the fleeing guards. Waters split. His entire body was filled with fighting spirit as he violently slashed out a giant ray of light that was hundreds of meters long. Instantly, the dark night sky was lit up. Sword chi filled the entire herb garden and created a violent hurricane. Boom! Following a loud explosion, a few more guards who could not escape in time were killed by the giant sword. A huge ravine that was thousands of meters long appeared on the ground, like an abyss. Dense cracks appeared on both sides of the gully. Dozens of patches of the herb garden were affected and turned into ruins. The violent shockwave swept across and crushed all the flowers and herbs on the ground into pieces, destroying them on the spot. Ji Tianxing let go of the black dragon sword and allowed it to transform back into its original form as it destroyed the herb garden with Qianyu. The little black dragon let out a high-pitched dragon roar and immediately transformed into a 30-meter-long black dragon that danced in the sky. It and Qianyu worked together to cast a spell and gathered all the spiritual qi in the herb garden to form a black cloud that covered the sky. Moving clouds and summoning rain, ice blade and frost sword. Within the rolling dark clouds, tens of thousands of icy blue water droplets condensed, transforming into countless ice blades and frost swords that poured down like a torrential downpour. Instantly, the ground was riddled with holes by the ice blades and frost swords. Numerous craters and cracks appeared. Millions of spiritual herbs and flowers were minced into pieces by the ice blades and frost swords. They were frozen into powder and scattered in the ruins. The little black dragon and Qianyu were having a great time playing, and they were even using their arts to slowly move the dark clouds in the night sky. Wherever the dark clouds passed by, frost and swords would rain down, destroying every inch of land. Ji Tianxing didn't stop either. Standing in the night sky, he waved his palms and used the secret technique of the Tianxing 5 extremes. Large balls of earthy yellow light surged in his palms. He was communicating with the heavens and earth, controlling the earth elemental power within 100 miles. As he used the secret technique, the night sky around him constantly gathered dark yellow light of spirit qi. After 100 breaths of time, with him as the center, the night sky for 10 miles around him had become a dusky yellow zone. Finally, Ji Tianxing had accumulated the earth elemental power to the limit, reaching the peak of his control. With a roar like a great bell, he fiercely waved his palms and slammed them into the earth beneath his feet. Yellow sky, thick earth, I grasp the universe. Heaven overturning earth, earth turns to stone. At that moment, the dusky yellow light in a 10-mile radius crashed into the earth like a mountain peak. Rumble. A thunderous boom that shook the highest heavens exploded, fiercely reverberating through the herb garden. The sound waves were as vigorous as thunder, causing the medicinal garden's defensive array to shake incessantly. As for the earth beneath his feet, it underwent a heaven-shaking transformation that left one flabbergasted. The dark brown earth began to ripple like the surface of the sea. The herb garden on the ground completely collapsed, and the earth mixed with hundreds of flowers and herbs sank into the ground. The earth from the ground surged up, covering everything on the ground. The earth converged into a dark brown wave of earth, crazily tumbling and rolling. With the earth beneath his feet as the center, it spread out in all directions. In a short 100 breaths of time, the earth for dozens of miles had been overturned. Thousands of herb gardens that cultivated herbs had been completely destroyed. Hundreds of millions of spirit flowers and herbs had been crushed into dregs, mixed with the earth, and buried deep underground. Then, the fertile earth condensed into a black stone that covered dozens of miles of land. Half an incense stick of time ago, the area of 50 to 60 miles had been a colorful and fragrant herb garden with hundreds of flowers in full bloom. But now, this area had become uneven, covered with cold black stones and cracks. It was like a broken desert, incomparably desolate, without a single blade of grass growing. The herb garden guards that had rushed over from all directions witnessed this scene with their own eyes. They were all shocked speechless. At this moment, In the night sky at the entrance of the herb garden, several beams of true essence light shot out like a stream of light. Within those beams of light, there was a figure of a powerful cultivator, emitting an overwhelming aura and murderous intent. They were extremely fast. After a short while, they had rushed to the center of the herb garden and surrounded Ji Tianxing. There were 4 powerful cultivators in total. All of them were at the 5th or 6th level of Sky Origin stage, wearing the same cyan robe. Without a doubt, these 4 powerful cultivators were the 4 leaders of the herb garden guards. They scattered in 4 directions, surrounding Ji Tianxing in the middle, keeping a distance of 1,000 meters from him. When they saw the changes on the ground, and saw that half of the herb garden had been destroyed, they were furious and roared in anger. "How dare you! How dare you destroy the herb garden? Bastard, no matter who you are, you will die a horrible death tonight. You damned little bastard, your death is not to be regretted. I will cut you into 1,000 pieces and put you to death." As the 4 leaders roared in anger, they drew out their swords and sabers. Their murderous intent shot up to the sky. Ji Tianxing was surrounded, but he was fearless. There was a flash of chilling light in his eyes. "All the dogs of the Duanmu clan deserve to die," he shouted in a low voice. Immediately, he performed his ultimate sword skill and initiated an attack. Metal Slash. He activated all of his power and released a giant golden sword that was 100 meters long. He slashed at the leader of the eastern group of guards. The golden sword flew across the sky and shone brightly, lighting up an area of 10 miles. The incomparably violent sword chi and the sword intent that could destroy the world caused the expressions of the 4 commanders to turn solemn. Deep fear appeared in their eyes. The leader of the eastern group of guards quickly stepped back and formed a shield with all his might, trying to block the attack of the golden sword. However, the metal slash had locked onto his aura. After chasing him for 2,000 meters, it still hit him. Boom. Chapter 676. The loud sound was still echoing in the night sky. The body parts and blood of the guard commander were still falling in the night sky. It was a ghastly scene under the golden light. Boom! The giant golden sword slashed down on the ground, creating a 10-mile-long trench on the ground that was covered with black stones. The ground within dozens of miles was shaking violently. The other 3 commanders saw their comrade being killed by Ji Tianxing with 1 strike. They were so shocked that their eyes were wide open. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe that a young man in a white robe at the 4th level of Sky Origin stage could kill a guard commander at the 5th level of Sky Origin stage with 1 strike. That was so horrifying. However, the 3 of them were only stunned for a moment before they came back to their senses. They hurriedly swung their swords at Ji Tianxing and took the chance to surround him. "Kill him! Kill him! Avenge Commander Li! We have to kill him tonight. Otherwise, how can we explain to the main house?" The herb garden was destroyed, and one of the commanders was killed. It was a great loss. Only by fighting a bloody battle and killing Ji Tianxing on the spot could the 3 commanders atone for their crimes. Otherwise, the Duanmu clan would punish them and they would be executed. Sword of Pride Sovereign. Falling Moon Sword. Sky-breaking sword. The 3 commanders roared with murderous intent. They activated all their martial arts and waved their swords, creating terrifying sword lights. Ji Tianxing didn't panic in the face of the 3 people's attacks. He was still calm and composed. He turned his head to look at the commander in the west. A golden eye suddenly appeared on his forehead. It was his 3rd eye, the Thunder Spiritual Eye. Thunder! Ji Tianxing let out a low roar as he opened his lightning spiritual eyes. Violent lightning energy was released from his azure pupils. The destructive thunder power condensed into a 20-meter-long blue light beam that was as thick as a bucket. It fiercely shot toward the commander in the west. Kaboom! The pillar of lightning tore through the night sky, bringing with it an overwhelming amount of lightning serpents that drowned out the commander. He didn't have time to run or dodge. He could only use his martial arts to form a shield to block the light beam. However, Ji Tianxing used up all the thunder power stored in his thunder spiritual eye at once. How terrifying was that thunder power! The commander's Zhenyuan shield was instantly shattered, and his body turned into black charcoal, collapsing and exploding. The power of the light beam didn't decrease. It fiercely hit the ground again. Following an earth-shattering rumble, a crater with a radius of 100 meters was blasted out of the ground. The blue thunder power splashed out and covered the ground thousands of meters around it, turning the ground into a scorched land. In the blink of an eye, 2 of the 4 commanders were killed. The remaining 2 commanders were still besieging Ji Tianxing. However, their hearts were also filled with anxiety and fear. As the 2 of them fought Ji Tianxing, they gave orders to the surrounding guard captains. "What are you doing? Quick, go and inform them. Bastard! Go report to the main house and ask them to send reinforcements." After receiving the order, the panic-stricken guards immediately rushed to the palace at the entrance of the herb garden to pass on the message. However, Ji Tianxing was prepared. After getting rid of the siege of the 2 commanders, he cut through the night sky and rushed to the entrance of the herb garden. After 100 breaths, he arrived at the entrance of the herb garden. He saw a few ancient and majestic palaces. They were brightly lit and there were vague figures flashing. The palaces were noisy. It was chaotic and noisy. Obviously, the guards, pharmacists, and handymen stationed in the palaces only knew that someone had sneaked into the herb garden and started a massacre. They didn't know what was going on. Ji Tianxing stood in the night sky above the palaces. He murmured with a cold expression, "In these palaces, there are countless medicinal herbs and elixirs. They are priceless. They must be destroyed." As he said that, he slowly raised his red left arm. A violent red flame primordial fire gushed out from his palm. "Burning sky palm." He shouted in a low voice like a muffled thunder. He slammed his palm on the ground in front of him. Suddenly, a giant flaming palm with a radius of hundreds of meters appeared. It hit the ground with a destructive power. Boom! In the earth-shattering noise, 2 tall and majestic palaces were smashed by the giant flaming palm and turned into brick ruins. The overwhelming red flame primordial fire burst out and covered a radius of 10 miles. It turned the entire area into a sea of red flame. The terrifying impact caused the other 2 palaces to collapse and be engulfed by the sea of fire. In the 4 palaces, there were not only piles of medicinal herbs and finished elixirs. There were also dozens of garden guards, dozens of pharmacists, and thousands of handymen cultivating medicinal herbs. As the 4 palaces were destroyed, all the medicinal herbs and elixirs were destroyed. They were burned to ashes by the endless sea of fire. Even more than 1,000 people in the palaces were killed or injured. There were only a few survivors who could escape the sea of fire. When the 2 guard commanders rushed to the scene and saw the ruins and the sea of fire, they were so angry that they almost went berserk. They roared wildly with their eyes wide open. "Ah, you crazy executioner, I'll fight it out with you. Bastard! Even if I kill you thousands of times, it will not be able to quell the hatred in my heart." The 2 commanders waved their swords and sabers crazily. They performed their lifetime's unique skills and besieged Ji Tianxing. Ji Tianxing hurriedly turned around and flew towards the other side of the herb garden. There was still an area with a radius of 40 miles. The herb garden was still intact, and there were countless medicinal herbs surviving. The 2 guard commanders were so angry that they almost lost their minds. They chased Ji Tianxing to the sky above the herb garden and attacked him recklessly. Ji Tianxing also fought back. He performed his unique sword skills and fought with the 2 commanders. Red Dragon Flash. Shatter the mountain and river. Scorching Sun Fire. The saber light and sword light from the 2 sides collided fiercely in the night sky. The dazzling True Essence light burst out and illuminated the surroundings. The shockwaves of the battle spread out, shattering the earth below and creating a scene of desolation. The 3 fought until the heavens darkened and the earth quaked. The world was thrown into chaos, and no one dared to approach. The 2 sides had only exchanged 20-some blows, but the herb garden within 40 miles had been completely destroyed. The earth had also been reduced to scorched ruins. The two guard commanders were too heavily injured. They could no longer hold on and were killed by Ji Tianxing. The battle was finally over, and the entire 100-flower garden had been completely destroyed. All the herb gardens had been reduced to ruins. The herbs and pills stored in the palaces had been reduced to ashes. Even the guards, laborers, and alchemists of the herb garden had been wiped out. Such a heavy blow was enough to cause the Duanmu clan to suffer a great loss of vitality. But this was still not enough. Ji Tianxing quietly left with the little black dragon and Qianyu, rushing to the longevity garden as quickly as possible. After all, the longevity garden was the most important of the 4 herb gardens, the core herb garden of the Duanmu clan. Chapter 677. 100-Flower Garden and Longevity Garden. One was in the east and the other was in the north of Greenwood City. There was a distance of 2,000 miles between the two gardens. Even with Ji Tianxing's sword kinesis flight, it took him 4 hours to reach the vicinity of Longevity Garden. It was the wee hours of the morning. The sky was dark and moonless while the ground was silent. He stood on top of a tall mountain outside the Garden of Longevity, silently observing the topography of the Garden of Longevity and silently calculating. It's been 4 hours since I destroyed 100-Flower Garden. Even if the surviving guards and elixir masters in 100-Flower Garden rushed to Greenwood City to report, they would need at least 6 hours. If the Duanmu family realizes that something is wrong and sends reinforcements to Longevity Garden, it would definitely be 10 hours later. I only have 10 hours. I have to destroy Longevity Garden as soon as possible. At the thought of this, he secretly clenched his fists and his eyes became serious and determined. Following that, Ji Tianxing used an hour to observe the layout of the entire Longevity Garden. The Garden of Longevity was the largest of the 4 gardens, spanning a radius of 200 miles. Moreover, the garden was not a basin or plain but a continuous mountain range. There were 9 dark green mountain ranges in Longevity Garden and more than a dozen green mountain peaks filled with spirit herbs. According to Yun Yao's intelligence, there were more than 300 guards, 6 guard commanders and an ancient mutated beast, the heavenly wind fire bird, in Longevity Garden. Most importantly, the defensive formation protecting the entire Longevity Garden was a soul-level formation built by the Duanmu family with all their wealth and manpower. This formation was like a dark green canopy that enveloped a radius of 200 miles, protecting the entire medicinal garden. It was because of the protection of this formation and the heavenly wind fire bird that Longevity Garden was so safe that almost no one dared to invade. Ji Tianxing sneaked to the edge of Longevity Garden and observed the defensive formation at a close distance. An hour later, a look of disappointment flashed through his eyes. He had to admit a fact. Although he was a formation grandmaster, he was only at divine origin realm and could not break this soul-level formation. Ji Tianxing furrowed his brows and observed the dark blue sky with a serious expression. He was racking his brains to think of a way to break it. A moment later, an idea flashed through his mind. No formation is perfect. There are bound to be flaws and weak points. This sky-like formation looks invulnerable, but it definitely has weak points and flaws. It's just that they're hidden and I can't find them for the time being. If the weak point of this formation wasn't on the surface, then it was very likely to be underground. If there's no door to heaven, then I'll enter the earth. If I sneak into the Longevity Garden from underground, I might have a chance to succeed. Thinking of this, Ji Tianxing's eyes flashed with anticipation. He hurriedly used the power of the earth element. His entire body was covered in a layer of yellow light. Like a sharp shuttle, he drilled into the ground and dived deep into the ground. He swam in the depths of the underground, moving stealthily like a fish swimming in the water. About half an hour later, he swam 5 miles underground and finally stopped. On the dark blue light screen in front of him, there was an area that was lighter in color. This was one of the weak points of the formation. This weak point was very well hidden. It was hidden 200 meters underground and was only the size of a palm. An ordinary formation master would never be able to find it. However, Ji Tianxing's formation skills were superb and he was very meticulous. He successfully found this weak point. Of course, even if he found the weak point of the formation, he wouldn't be able to break it. If a Sky Origin stage expert wanted to break a soul-level formation, they could only rely on the power of a soul-level artifact. Therefore, Ji Tianxing took out the Ice Dragon Hammer from his interspatial ring. Swoosh! A dazzling white light flashed and a white bone hammer appeared in Ji Tianxing's palm. This bone hammer was about 4 feet long. The handle was a slightly curved bone club. It was as thick as Ji Tianxing's arm. The end of the handle was connected to a white rhinoceros horn that was half a meter long. It was the hammer of the Ice Dragon Hammer. From the outside, this Ice Dragon Hammer looked like a hammer, but also like a sickle. However, the Ice Dragon Hammer looked simple and unadorned. It didn't have many decorations or carvings. If one looked closely, they would find that the Ice Dragon Hammer was engraved with spirit runes and a few ancient demon race words. It contained a mysterious and vast power that seemed to be connected to heaven and earth. It was as heavy as a mountain and as vigorous as the sea. Ji Tianxing held the Ice Dragon Hammer in his right hand and felt cold. A formless cold air rushed into his body and into his mind. That cold air immediately shook his mind. His soul and thoughts became abnormally calm and sharp. This feeling was something that a Sky Origin stage weapon wouldn't have. With the Ice Dragon Hammer in his hand, Ji Tianxing became more confident and domineering. His eyes became brighter and sharper. He silently used the Ice Dragon art and controlled the power of the Ice Dragon Hammer. It lit up with a dazzling white light and emitted a bone-chilling cold. Very quickly, the sparkling and translucent rhinoceros horn was wrapped in white light, accumulating a terrifying power. Without hesitation, Ji Tianxing raised his hammer and smashed it onto the weak point of the defensive formation. With a bang, the weak point of the formation was smashed open on the spot. A ripple-like crack appeared on the dark green light screen. It's indeed effective. The Ice Dragon Hammer is indeed worthy of being the demon race's clan treasure, a top soul-level magic treasure. Ji Tianxing revealed a look of joy as he praised in his heart. He raised the Ice Dragon Hammer once again and smashed it onto the weak point of the formation with all his might. Crack! With a crisp cracking sound, the weak point of the formation was immediately broken, and a fist-sized hole appeared. Dark green spirit energy continuously gushed out from the hole. This was the power of the formation leaking out. Ji Tianxing raised the Ice Dragon Hammer again and smashed it around the hole a dozen times. The hole quickly expanded to about half a meter, turning into a large gap. It's finally done. Ji Tianxing hurriedly put away the Ice Dragon Hammer, passed through the gap, and entered the defensive formation. He successfully entered the interior of the herb garden and quickly swam up to the surface. Very quickly, he came out from the depths of the ground and returned to the forest on the surface. At first glance, the surrounding dense forest was filled with large trees. However, when Ji Tianxing focused his gaze, he realized that every blade of grass and tree in the forest was a rare and precious medicinal herb. Endless medicinal herbs and trees wrapped around the entire mountain peak, forming a medicinal mountain that was thousands of feet tall. In the Longevity Garden, there were more than a dozen of such medicinal mountains. Ji Tianxing looked around a few times before flying out of the dense forest and into the dark night sky. He looked down at the medicinal mountain below him and slowly raised his left arm. He was about to use the heaven-burning palm to turn the entire medicinal mountain into ruins. But at this moment in the night sky 1,000 meters behind him, a bright yellow flame suddenly lit up and flew over as fast as lightning. Swish! In the blink of an eye, that dazzling flame flew 1,000 meters away and arrived behind Ji Tianxing. Chapter 678. As the mountain-like firebird flew over, a violent hurricane appeared in the night sky. Ji Tianxing immediately turned around and looked at the giant firebird in the night sky. He frowned and his pupils constricted. This was a firebird that was completely red. It was as large as a mountain, and its wings could cover the sky. It looked a little like the legendary vermilion bird. Its appearance was majestic and mighty. There were 9 dark golden feathers on its head and 18 100-meter-long tail feathers on its tail. It looked very gorgeous and beautiful. However, its aura was not as sacred and majestic as that of a divine beast. Instead, it was domineering and violent. Even though it was floating in the night sky and did not attack, it was emitting a violent fighting spirit. Its body lit up with flames, illuminating the night sky in a radius of dozens of miles. It was like a blazing sun hanging in the sky. The extremely high temperature and waves of fire caused the night sky around it to distort. Ji Tianxing immediately understood when he saw the giant firebird's appearance. This firebird that was as large as a mountain was the ancient beast that guarded the Garden of Longevity, the Skywind Firebird. Just as Ji Tianxing was secretly on guard, the heavenly wind firebird stared at him for a while and spoke. "Kid, who are you? How dare you barge into the Longevity Garden? Do you want to die?" The heavenly wind firebird actually spoke human language, and its pronunciation was perfect. It was no different from a human speech. Ji Tianxing was a little surprised, but he was not surprised. After all, this heavenly wind firebird had been reared by the Duanmu family for hundreds of years. Its intelligence was basically equivalent to a human's. The heavenly wind firebird saw that Ji Tianxing was silent, so it shouted in a dignified tone, "Kid, you don't have to explain anything. I saw you barge into the Longevity Garden with my own eyes. If you don't want to die, cripple your own cultivation and kneel down to beg for mercy. Don't wait for me to make a move. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your life and will definitely be turned into ashes." The heavenly wind firebird had an arrogant attitude. Its tone was very domineering and unquestionable. Ji Tianxing curled the corner of his mouth, revealing a mocking sneer. "Ha! A feathered beast dares to be so arrogant and conceited? Looks like you've been tyrannical in the Duanmu clan for too long." The firebird of heavenly wind was instantly enraged, and its eyes were filled with fury and killing intent. "What a reckless little thing. You actually dare to insult this prince? You must be tired of living. It just so happens that I've been bored in the Longevity Garden for many years, so I'll amuse myself with you tonight. Brat, this king will let you taste the feeling of being roasted by fire and wishing you were dead." As it spoke, the firebird's eyes were filled with ridicule and cruelty. Ji Tianxing held the black dragon sword and crooked his finger at the firebird. He sneered and said, "Humph. It just so happens that I also want to have a taste of an ancient beast. Big roast chicken, I will cut you into slices, wrap you in spices, and slowly savor you." The Skywind flaming bird was highly respected in the Duanmu clan, and it was even an overlord in the Longevity Garden that kept its word. It was worshipped by countless guards and servants, so when had it ever been ridiculed like this? It flapped its wings furiously, opened its sharp beak, and cursed coldly. "Little thing, you've successfully angered this king. You're dead meat. This king will burn you to ashes and use you as fertilizer for planting flowers." As it spoke, it opened its beak and spat out a bright yellow pillar of fire that was 100 meters long, which blasted toward Ji Tianxing. That bright yellow pillar of fire was formed from earth fire, and its power was incomparably violent. It could melt a mountain into magma. Seeing that the firebird of heavenly wind was about to go crazy from anger, Ji Tianxing's eyes flashed with a sneer. He pulled out the black dragon sword and slashed at the firebird of heavenly wind with all his might to meet that pillar of fire. Dragon soars from the 9 heavens. With a wave of the black dragon sword, a huge ice dragon appeared and blasted toward the pillar of fire descending from the sky. Ice and fire countered each other, so Ji Tianxing wanted to test the firebird of heavenly wind's strength. Boom! In the deafening sound, the bright yellow pillar of fire trembled violently and burst into flames. However, the pillar of fire was still intact, and it continued to blast toward Ji Tianxing. On the other hand, the ice dragon was smashed into pieces by the pillar of fire. It turned into ice crystals that filled the sky and scattered on the herb mountain below. Seeing this, Ji Tianxing immediately frowned and his eyes became serious. This firebird of heavenly wind is actually so powerful? Seeing the pillar of fire coming toward him, Ji Tianxing had nowhere to hide. He could only close the golden wings on his back to protect himself. Wings of the golden rock. At the same time, the towering pillar of fire hit the wings of the golden rock and engulfed Ji Tianxing's figure. Wrapped in the pillar of fire, he plummeted from the night sky and blasted into the herb mountain below. Boom! A dull and loud sound burst out. The terrifyingly powerful pillar of fire blasted the herb mountain into a crater with a radius of 1,000 meters and dozens of huge ravines. The entire herb mountain shook violently, and countless soil and boulders collapsed. Bright yellow earth fire burst out and covered the entire mountain peak. Instantly, the peak of the herb mountain turned into a sea of fire. Countless precious herb trees and flowers were burned to ashes in the sea of fire. Even the earth and soil on the mountain peak were burned into scorched ruins by the earth fire. The firebird of heavenly wind hovered above the herb mountain and looked down at Ji Tianxing at the bottom of the crater. It sneered contemptuously. "Haha, you damned little thing, now you know how powerful I am, right? But don't kneel down and beg for mercy. That's too boring. I said I would burn you to ashes, and I will do it." Ji Tianxing spread his golden wings and shook off the scorched earth on his body. Swoosh! He stood up and scathed, spread his wings, and flew out of the crater. He returned to the night sky and faced the firebird of heavenly wind from 1,000 meters away. This damned firebird really has the strength of a half-step soul-tempering realm cultivator. If I don't use the ice dragon hammer, I won't be its match. Ji Tianxing narrowed his eyes as this thought flashed through his mind. Of course, although he thought this, he looked even more arrogant on the surface. He sneered contemptuously. "Big roasted chicken, is this all you've got? As the guardian beast of the Garden of Longevity, a half-step soul-tempering realm monster king, you're actually so weak. You're really a weakling." The firebird of heavenly wind found it unbelievable that he was unscathed. It thought it was seeing things. Hearing his mocking words, the firebird of heavenly wind became even more furious. It roared in a low voice, "Don't be so smug, you little worm. Even if you're lucky enough to escape this time, you won't be able to block my earth fire. I'll show you the true power of the earth fire right now." As soon as it finished speaking, the firebird of heavenly wind's body ignited with flames and gathered in its claws, forming two huge fireballs. It continued to compress the two fireballs, causing the endless earth fire to condense until it was the size of a millstone. Die! Chapter 679. The firebird's two fireballs didn't look big, but their power was terrifying. Ji Tianxing purposely angered the Skywind firebird in order to destroy the Longevity Garden. Therefore, he wouldn't fight the firebird for the time being. When the firebird condensed the two geocentric fireballs, he had already run away. Whoosh, whoosh. When the geocentric fireballs came whistling and smashed toward him with destructive power, he was already 5 miles away. One of the geocentric fireballs brushed past him and was narrowly dodged. Bang! It smashed into the herb mountain below. Instantly, the entire herb mountain was smashed into pieces by the geocentric fireball. The terrifying geocentric flames exploded and turned the entire herb mountain into a sea of fire. Every single blade of grass, every single tree, and every single medicinal herb on the 1,000-zhang-tall mountain was burned into ashes. Even the soil and rocks were turned into dark red lava by the geocentric flames and flowed in all directions. The other geocentric fireball chased after Ji Tianxing for 1,000 meters and finally hit him. The moment before the geocentric fireball hit him, he poured his true essence into his golden wings and closed them to protect himself. Bang! The geocentric fireball smashed into the golden wings and smashed him into the herb mountain from the sky. Following an earth-shattering explosion, a 1,000-meter-wide crater appeared in the dark green mountain range filled with medicinal herbs. The entire mountain range shook violently from the impact. Countless wide gullies were split open, and countless earth and boulders collapsed. The geocentric flames that could destroy the world exploded and turned the area within a 10-mile radius into a sea of fire. All the herb trees were burned to ashes. The earth and herb mountain were also melted into dark red lava that flowed freely in all directions. Wherever the lava flowed through, the mountain became a pitch-black scorched ruin. The entire herb mountain was engulfed in raging flames and turned into a sea of fire. The lava flowed in all directions like waves. When the firebird saw this, its huge body shook, and its eyes were filled with regret. It's over. This king actually forgot that the earth core fire would destroy the herb mountain and incinerate countless herbs. That damned little bastard. You caused this prince to be muddle-headed for a moment and actually made such a big mistake. You must be punished by the main house. Despicable and shameless reptile, even if I burn you to ashes, I still won't be able to vent my hatred. Only then did the heavenly wind fiery bird wake up from its stupor. It was furious and regretful. It cursed furiously. Its heart was filled with worry as it guessed how the Duanmu clan would punish it after finding out that the herb mountain had been destroyed. At this moment, a golden light flew out from the raging sea of fire. Shwa! The golden light flew into the sky and stopped 1,000 meters away from the firebird, revealing a tall and handsome figure. He was Ji Tianxing. Apart from his slightly pale face, there were no other injuries on his body. When the heavenly wind fiery bird saw him appear safe and sound, it turned pale with fright. Its eyes widened in shock. You're not dead yet? How is this possible? That ball of earth core fire was able to shatter 1,000 feet tall mountain and turn the ground into magma. Its power was naturally terrifying. The heavenly wind fiery bird could not believe that Ji Tianxing was not killed on the spot after being hit by its ball of earth core fire. This was simply too unbelievable. Ji Tianxing looked at the heavenly wind fiery bird with a mocking expression and sneered contemptuously. You stupid bird, you're really as stupid as a pig and as weak as a chicken. What bullshit earth core fire? You're not even qualified to tickle me. Stupid bird, what other tricks do you have? Show them all and let me see what you're capable of. As he spoke, Ji Tianxing hooked his finger at the heavenly wind fiery bird. His expression was arrogant and provocative. The heavenly wind fiery bird was used to riding roughshod over others. It was used to being high up and being worshipped by others. Ji Tianxing's wanton humiliation made it tremble with anger. Its golden eyes were covered with a layer of red. Brat, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You must be tired of living. The heavenly wind fiery bird was completely enraged. It no longer cared about the consequences and used all its strength to perform its ultimate move. Wind and fire in the sky. It roared in a low voice and flapped its wings crazily. It stirred up an earth-shattering hurricane, causing a fierce wind to blow for dozens of miles. Bright yellow earth core fire and red heavenly core fire rose from its body. The two types of flames spread out between its left and right wings and rose fiercely. The heavenly core fire and earth core fire became even more violent with the help of the wind. Its power also doubled. Go to hell. The heavenly wind fiery bird's aura reached its peak. When the power of the flames reached its limit, it roared furiously and released an earth-shattering flame. The heavenly core fire and earth core fire merged with the hurricane and turned into a flaming tornado that was thousands of feet tall. It swept toward Ji Tianxing. Swoosh, swoosh. Two terrifying flaming tornadoes swept across the night sky in the blink of an eye. They flew for dozens of miles and caught up with Ji Tianxing, who was running away quickly. Ji Tianxing had already escaped when he saw that the situation was not good. But just as he flew over another mountain range, he was hit by the flaming tornadoes that could destroy heaven and earth. He fell into the tornadoes and was crazily strangled. Suddenly, the dark green mountain range was strangled by the two flaming tornadoes. The earth shook and the mountains shook, and two deep scorched pits appeared. The area within a radius of 20 miles was filled with violent flames and tornadoes. The herbs and trees in the mountain were crushed by the tornadoes and burned to ashes by the flames. Even the earth and rocks were melted into magma by the terrifying flames and flowed freely. The flaming tornadoes raged for a long time. Countless magma was blown away and scattered on the surrounding ground, igniting a few neighboring herb mountains. The area within a radius of more than 30 miles was turned into a sea of fire. The monstrous fire lit up half the sky and also alarmed countless guards and commanders in the herb garden. Exclamations sounded around the herb garden as more than 100 guards rushed over. In the distant night sky, 5 guard commanders flew across the night sky at lightning speed and rushed toward the heavenly wind fiery bird. The heavenly wind fiery bird floated in the sky and looked down at the mountain range below. It saw that the entire mountain range was turned into a sea of fire, countless herbs were burned, and the earth was turned into magma and scorched earth. The regret in its heart deepened. Damn it! I've destroyed another mountain range and burned down 2 medicinal mountains. This time it's over. Even if I kill that brat, the main family will definitely not forgive me. The heavenly wind fiery bird was both regretful and furious. Even if it turned Ji Tianxing into ashes, it would not be appeased. It stared at the sea of fire, searching for Ji Tianxing's figure. However, the sea of fire raged for a long time and Ji Tianxing's figure did not appear again. Not long after, the 5 guard commanders arrived and flew to the heavenly wind fiery bird's side. When they saw that the 2 mountain ranges had turned into a sea of fire, they were instantly shocked and let out a confused cry. Senior Heavenly Wind, what's going on? Senior Heavenly Wind, why did you set fire to several herb mountains? Chapter 680. Although the strength and status of the 5 guard commanders were lower than the Firebird, they were still very respectful towards the Firebird. They were usually very respectful to the Firebird of Heavenly Wind. When they opened their mouths, they would always call him Senior. They didn't dare to slight him in the least. However, the scene in front of them terrified them and made them unable to calm down. Therefore, the 5 commanders all opened their mouths to ask questions, their tone anxious and puzzled. The Firebird of Heavenly Wind suppressed its rage and explained in a low voice, "Why would I set a fire for no reason? Wasn't it because a little bastard broke into the herb garden that I took action?" When the 5 commanders heard this, they understood the reason and quickly searched for traces of the intruder. Someone broke into the herb garden? Who is so bold? Are they tired of living? Senior Firebird, are you sure only one person broke into the herb garden? The herb garden is protected by a soul-level array. Who can break the soul-level array and break in? Could it be a soul-level cultivator? Where is that person? Why is there no trace of him? The Firebird of the Heavenly Wind was extremely irritated by the questions of the 5 commanders, and it roared angrily, "All of you, shut up! That little bastard who broke into the herb garden has been burned to ashes by my wind and fire. I will report this matter to the main family and take responsibility. I don't need you juniors to tell me what to do." The Firebird had been guarding the herb garden for hundreds of years and his status was much higher than the 5 commanders. When the 5 commanders saw that he was angry, they quickly shut up and didn't dare to say anything else. Everyone was silent for a moment before one of the commanders suggested, "Everyone, let's cast spells to extinguish the fire as soon as possible." The other commanders quickly nodded in agreement. "We can't let the fire spread or it will affect more of the herb mountains. At this point, we can only put out the fire first. Let's work together to cast rain. This way we can put out the fire faster." Just as everyone was about to cast spells to make rain, a dazzling golden light suddenly flew out from the sea of fire below. Swoosh! That sacred and rich golden light instantly rushed out of the sea of fire and flew into the sky not far away. The Firebird of Heavenly Wind and the 5 commanders stared blankly at the ball of golden light. Only then did they realize that it was a golden seal the size of a house. The surface of the golden seal was engraved with spirit runes and pictures of mountains and rivers. There was also a divine dragon and a flying phoenix carved on it, which looked very lifelike. The entire golden seal exuded a sacred aura, containing a majestic aura, as well as a domineering aura that encompassed mountains and rivers. With the knowledge of the Firebird and the 5 commanders, they could tell at a glance that this golden seal was definitely a soul-grade magic treasure. At this moment, the magic treasure golden seal emitted a mass of golden light, and a white-robed youth appeared out of thin air. It was Ji Tianxing. He brushed the sleeves of his white robe with a smile on his face. He was completely unscathed. When the flaming hurricane hit him, he took out the seal of mountains and rivers at the critical moment and dived into the golden seal without hesitation. When the emperor gave him the seal of mountains and rivers, the imperial tutor had told him that the seal of mountains and rivers could help him block a fatal blow from a soul refinement realm cultivator. It could save him a total of 3 times. This magic treasure that the emperor had personally refined could even block a soul refinement realm cultivator's all-out attack. The Firebird of Heavenly Wind was only a half-step soul refinement realm cultivator, so the seal of mountains and rivers could naturally block the flaming hurricane and protect Ji Tianxing from harm. Ji Tianxing used his cultivation to shrink the seal of mountains and rivers by 10,000 times and held it in his palm. He stared at the golden seal in his palm and murmured with satisfaction, "Not bad, not bad. The emperor has put in a lot of effort, as expected of a soul-grade magic treasure." At this moment, the Firebird of Heavenly Wind and the 5 commanders finally regained their senses. The Firebird of Heavenly Wind widened its eyes in shock and shouted in disbelief, "Goddamn bastard, you're still alive. You're just a nobody, how can you have a soul-grade magic treasure?" The expressions of the 5 commanders became even more interesting. While they were shocked, they also looked at the Firebird of Heavenly Wind with strange expressions and couldn't help but mutter. Didn't Senior Heavenly Wind say that he had already killed the intruder? How can that kid still be unharmed? Who is that kid? How can he enter the herb garden alone? How can he break the soul-grade array? Although that guy has a soul-grade magic treasure, he's only at the 4th level of the Sky Origin stage. How can Senior Heavenly Wind not kill him? The 5 commanders had been stationed in the herb garden for a long time and hadn't left for many years. They didn't know anything about the outside world and didn't know Ji Tianxing. They only felt that it was inconceivable. Who was Ji Tianxing? At this time, Ji Tianxing had already put away the seal of mountains and rivers. He looked at the Firebird of Heavenly Wind with a smile and said with contempt, "Stupid bird, you've disappointed me. This little trick is not enough. I didn't think that you, a half-step soul refinement realm cultivator, would call for help when you can't beat me. TSK, look at the 5 helpers you've brought. What kind of trash are they? Are you trying to send them to their deaths?" The Firebird of Heavenly Wind was so angry that it almost vomited blood. Its body trembled and its feathers stood up. "You damned bastard! Reptile! Beast! I'm so angry! Today, no matter what, I will cut you into pieces and burn you to ashes." The Firebird of Heavenly Wind roared angrily. It was on the verge of going berserk. Its body was covered in flames and its killing intent soared to the sky. It had used all its strength. The 5 commanders were furious as well. They glared at Ji Tianxing, wishing they could skin him alive and pull out his tendons. However, when they saw that the Firebird of Heavenly Wind was about to set fire again, they were so scared that their faces turned pale. They quickly tried to stop it. "Senior Heavenly Wind, please calm down. You can't set fire again." "That's right. Senior Heavenly Wind, if you attack again, the entire herb garden will become a sea of fire." "That's right. If the entire herb garden is destroyed, we can all slit our throats and commit suicide to atone for our sins. Senior Heavenly Wind, please stop. Leave that little bastard to us. You just need to watch the battle." The 5 commanders tried to persuade the Firebird of Heavenly Wind as they rushed toward Ji Tianxing. They were afraid that the Firebird of Heavenly Wind would not be able to control itself and set fire to the herb garden. The Firebird of Heavenly Wind suppressed its anger and had to calm down. Its intelligence was not low. After thinking about it calmly, it understood that Ji Tianxing was deliberately provoking it so that he could use its flames to destroy the herb garden. Therefore, it suppressed its murderous intent and did not attack. It stood in the night sky and watched the battle. "Good. I want to see what you 5 juniors are capable of and whether you can kill that kid." The 5 commanders drew their weapons and charged toward Ji Tianxing with murderous intent. They wanted to attack him together. Ji Tianxing turned around and fled without hesitation. He flew toward another mountain range full of herbs. He deliberately slowed down. Just as he flew over the mountain range, the 5 commanders caught up with him. Kill him. We can't let him escape. Everyone be careful. Don't let the herb mountain be affected. Chapter 681. The commanders guarding the longevity garden were all at the 6th level of the sky origin stage. Plus, the 5 of them had cultivated a set of joint martial art called the Sky Shattering of 5 Directions. They worked well together. They were scattered in 5 directions around Ji Tianxing. They waved their swords and sabers at the same time, releasing powerful and dazzling saber light and sword light. Sky Heart Flame Slash. Thousand Star Destruction. Red Rainbow Purple Dragon Break. Blue Cloud Destruction. Sky Shattering of 5 Directions. The 5 commanders joined forces and attacked together. Instantly, Ji Tianxing's figure was drowned out by the enormous and terrifying saber and sword shadows. The area within 10 miles was also covered by a powerful force. It was like an invisible cage. Ji Tianxing was trapped in this invisible cage. He couldn't escape at all. If he couldn't break through the 5 commanders' encirclement, he would definitely be killed by them. Soon, more than a dozen multicolored saber lights, sword lights, and rainbows were about to hit Ji Tianxing. At the critical moment, he closed his wings without hesitation and used them to protect himself. Wings of the Golden Rock. Then a series of saber light, sword light, and rainbow light hit him, making a deafening sound. Bang, bang, bang. Ji Tianxing fell from the sky and smashed into the dark green mountain. With a loud bang, a 3,000-meter-tall mountain of herbs was smashed into pieces, on the verge of collapsing. Then the overwhelming saber light and sword light slashed at the mountain range, cutting it in half and creating a dense ravine. The entire mountain was shaking violently. Rocks and soil were flying in the sky. They were all covered by the colorful True Origin stage light. A herb mountain and half of the mountain were destroyed. Countless herbs and trees were smashed into powder. They were mixed with the dust and scattered everywhere. The 5 commanders saw this scene. Their expressions were complicated. They felt heartache and relief at the same time. They felt heartache because another herb mountain was destroyed. They didn't know how to explain such a great loss to the main house. Fortunately, they had joined forces to besiege Ji Tianxing. Looking at the scene of the mountains collapsing and the earth cracking, this person was most likely killed. However, the 5 commanders did not dare to relax. They all opened their eyes wide and stared at the broken mountain range below. They even released their spiritual senses to explore the ruins below, searching for traces of Ji Tianxing. Only the firebird of Heavenly Wind's reaction was calm and indifferent, and there was even a hint of mockery in its eyes. With its previous experience, it dared to conclude that the combined attack of 5 commanders wouldn't even be enough to tickle that brat. Reality proved that the Heavenly Wind Firebird had guessed correctly. In the next moment, a dazzling golden light flew out from the ruins of the broken mountain range. It was a white-robed figure. He flapped his golden wings and flew into the night sky like a streak of light. He didn't stop in the slightest and directly charged towards the nearest guard commander. His right hand held a bone hammer that was like white jade, and he raised it and smashed it down. Without a doubt, the bone hammer in Ji Tianxing's hand was the Demon Clan's clan treasure, the Ice Dragon Hammer. He used the Ice Dragon art and activated the power of the Ice Dragon Hammer, smashing out a ball of icy white light the size of a house. That ball of light seemed to be dense like mist, but it contained the power of the Ice Dragon and the power of the 1,000-year-old Yin Wind. It was truly the coldest in the world, and its power was terrifying. That guard commander was still in a daze. His eyes were wide open, revealing a look of disbelief. He couldn't believe that he and his 4 companions couldn't even hurt Ji Tianxing in the slightest after joining forces and unleashing such a powerful attack. When he saw the ball of white icy light coming and sensed that the situation was not good, it was already too late to dodge. That ball of white icy light, with a speed faster than lightning, instantly smashed into him. Bang! With a muffled sound, this guard commander was hit by the white icy light on the spot. His protective true essence instantly shattered, and his body immediately collapsed, shattering into tens of thousands of pieces of flesh. A strange scene appeared. The pieces of his body and blood were covered by the white icy light, and immediately turned into white ice crystals. Tens of thousands of ice crystals fell from the night sky onto the broken mountain range below. It was like a hailstorm. The ice crystals that covered the sky and the earth emitted a terrifying coldness after they fell onto the ground, immediately forming a layer of solid ice that covered the entire mountain range. The 4 guards and the Firebird all saw with their own eyes that the entire mountain range turned into a white glacier in the blink of an eye. The soil in the mountain range turned into frozen soil that was as hard as steel. The surviving herbs and trees in the mountain range were also frozen to death, turning into powder. Everyone was stunned, and their faces were filled with astonishment. Even Ji Tianxing, who was in the sky, was stunned. A trace of disbelief flashed in his eyes. A Sky Origin Stage Level 6 powerhouse was smashed to death with one strike of the hammer? The Ice Dragon Hammer is indeed powerful. This is the power of the Demon Clan's ultimate treasure. When Ji Tianxing used the Ice Dragon Hammer to break the array's weak point, he only felt that the Ice Dragon Hammer was very powerful, but he didn't have a direct experience like this. At this moment, when he used the Ice Dragon Hammer to kill a guard commander, he finally felt the terrifying power of the Ice Dragon Hammer. Of course, he was shocked. The other 4 guards came to their senses, and their faces were filled with terror. They hurriedly retreated. Now, they finally believed the Firebird's words. This white-robed young man in front of them was simply a monster. Although his cultivation level wasn't high, he had a soul-level magical weapon in his hand. It was too terrifying. The 4 guards lost all their will to fight. They didn't dare to fight with Ji Tianxing anymore. They just wanted to get away from this terrifying guy as soon as possible. However, Ji Tianxing held the Ice Dragon Hammer and chased after them with a cold smile on his face. Don't you think it's too late to run away now? He flapped his golden wings and rushed towards the 4 guards like a shooting star. He held the Ice Dragon Hammer and was about to attack again. The 4 commanders were scared out of their wits. They immediately scattered in all directions and fled into the distance in a panic. As they fled, they didn't forget to shout anxiously, urging the Firebird to attack. "Senior Heavenly Wind, what are you still standing there for? Quickly stop him. Senior Heavenly Wind, you can't just watch us die. Senior, we have misunderstood you, please kill him quickly." The Firebird couldn't help but sneer when it saw their terrified looks. This prince was wondering how capable you all were. How dare you question this king's strength? You deserve to die. Of course, it was only saying that to vent the resentment in its heart. After saying that, it flapped its wings and rushed towards Ji Tianxing as fast as lightning, wanting to stop him from killing. Unfortunately, Ji Tianxing had already caught up to the guard commander closest to him. He raised his hammer and smashed it. Ice Dragon Break. As he shouted angrily, the crystal-clear Ice Dragon Hammer burst out with an overwhelming amount of cold air. It formed an ice dragon that was hundreds of meters long and fiercely attacked the guard commander. Kaboom! The guard commander didn't have time to dodge or block. He was immediately hit by the ice dragon and was blasted into pieces on the spot. His flesh and blood were frozen into ice crystals by the cold air and scattered on the ground below. Instantly, a mountain of herbs was turned into an ice mountain. Brothers, Xiaohe has to explain that from the 11th to the 15th of this month, Xiaohe will be going to Shanghai to participate in the Advanced Online Literature Seminar. Chapter 682. At this moment, Ji Tianxing was as ferocious as a dragon. His aura was domineering and powerful. In the blink of an eye, 2 of the 5 powerful guard commanders were killed by him. When the 3 surviving commanders saw that their companions were smashed to pieces with a single hammer, they were so scared that their souls almost left their bodies. Their limbs and legs went soft. When Ji Tianxing smashed the 3rd guard commander to death with his hammer, the Firebird finally arrived and stopped him. "Bastard! You're so savage! Stop for this king!" The Firebird roared and cursed. It opened its mouth and spat out heavenly flames that covered the sky and covered the earth. It poured down towards Ji Tianxing like a flood. Instantly, the sky within 1,000 meters was enveloped by the scarlet heavenly flames. The heavenly flames were like the scorching sun, illuminating half of the night sky, causing the surrounding 10 miles to be incomparably hot. The air was also burned to nothing. Ji Tianxing had no choice but to give up on chasing after the two surviving commanders. Instead, he swung the ice dragon hammer at the firebird. "Stupid bird, I've been waiting for you for a long time." Ji Tianxing sneered and shouted. He channeled all of his power and crazily activated the power of the ice dragon hammer, causing the sky to be filled with white ice light. 1,000 miles of icy wind. With a low shout, the white light that covered the sky and the earth mixed with the 1,000-year-old cold wind and instantly drowned out the endless heavenly flames. The area within a radius of 20 miles turned into a vast expanse of white ice. The cold wind howled between heaven and earth, causing the sky to wrinkle. The mountain range below also collapsed and turned into white glaciers. The heavenly flames released by the firebird were immediately extinguished. It could not harm Ji Tianxing at all. After the icy wind that swept through the world enveloped the firebird, the flames on its body immediately fluttered like a candle in the wind that was about to be extinguished. Seeing this, the heavenly wind firebird widened its eyes in horror, revealing a look of intense shock. "This is the power of the ice dragon rhinoceros? You bastard! The magic treasure in your hand is actually the horn of the ice dragon rhinoceros." The ice dragon rhinoceros was the nemesis and natural enemy of the firebird. How could it not recognize it? When it saw that the bone hammer in Ji Tianxing's hand was made from the horn of the ice dragon rhinoceros, it was shocked and angry. A trace of fear flashed through its heart. That was the fear that demonic beasts had towards their natural enemies, an innate fear. Ji Tianxing stood high up in the sky and looked at the firebird with a smile. He said in a mocking tone, "If I didn't have a way to restrain you, why would I barge into the longevity garden alone? Firebird of the heavenly wind, accept your fate. You can't protect this herb garden. If you continue to resist stubbornly, I will destroy you and the herb garden together." Ji Tianxing's tone was full of confidence and arrogance, as if he controlled the life and death of the heavenly wind firebird. When he had first entered the herb garden, the heavenly wind flaming bird had spoken to him with such an expression and tone. Now, he was returning an eye for an eye, causing the skywind flaming bird to be greatly humiliated. "Bastard! This king is the descendant of the vermilion bird and the blue bird. How noble is my bloodline! How could I be afraid of a lowly rhinoceros? What's more, the magic treasure in your hand is only a horn. Don't even think about defeating this king. You damned bastard, this king swears to live and die with the longevity garden. If you want to destroy the herb garden, you have to step over this king's corpse first." The firebird of the heavenly wind raised its head proudly and cursed angrily while resisting the erosion of the icy wind. Ji Tianxing was not angry. The smile on his face became even more mocking. "Good. You stupid bird, you actually have some backbone. Since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish." After saying that, he used the ice dragon art again and activated the power of the ice dragon hammer, releasing endless icy wind. Ice dragon slash of 10,000 blades. A vast expanse of white icy air and 1,000-year-old cold wind immediately sealed off an area of 10 miles, forming an ice domain. The cold ice condensed into 6 ice dragons, circling around the firebird of the heavenly wind. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they attacked it. The cold wind and cold air also condensed into tens of thousands of ice swords, shuttling back and forth like flowing light, attacking the firebird of the heavenly wind. The firebird of the heavenly wind was suppressed by the ice domain. Not only was it unable to escape, its strength was also weakened. The 6 ice dragons ferociously attacked, and the tens of thousands of ice swords shot out like a rain of arrows, immediately causing it to fall into a desperate situation of life and death. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The ice dragons danced wildly, and the sword light was as dense as rain, causing the ice domain within a radius of 10 miles to fall into extreme chaos and violence. The firebird of the heavenly wind roared angrily, flapping its wings crazily, waving its claws to fight the 6 ice dragons. Moreover, it also released surging spiritual fire of heaven and earth, condensing it into a shield to protect itself, blocking the attacks of the tens of thousands of ice swords. The firebird of the heavenly wind and the 6 ice dragons fiercely clashed, constantly bursting out with muffled bang 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 sounds, overflowing with a violent and devastating force. Countless ice swords bombarded it, causing its fire shield to tremble continuously, constantly bursting out large amounts of sparks. In a short span of 20 breaths, the firebird of the heavenly wind's fire shield collapsed. Its body was covered in countless wounds from the ice dragons and ice swords, many of which were so deep that bones could be seen. Dark red blood gushed out of the wounds, and the power of fire quickly leaked out. Although it desperately resisted and counterattacked, it still shattered 3 ice dragons and shattered thousands of ice swords. However, Ji Tianxing kept urging the power of the ice dragon hammer to replenish the cold air and Yin wind for the ice domain. The shattered ice dragons and ice swords quickly reformed. Unless the firebird of the heavenly wind could completely destroy the ice domain, or destroy the magic treasure, the ice dragon hammer. Otherwise, the ice domain would continuously condense ice dragons and ice swords until it was cut into pieces. Not long after, the firebird of the heavenly wind was covered in wounds from the ice dragons and ice swords. Its entire body was covered in hideous wounds, revealing the dark golden bones within. A rain of blood kept falling from the wounds. Originally, the firebird of the heavenly wind's blood contained the power of the heavenly fire, and it was as hot as fire. However, its blood dripped out, and before it touched the ground, it was frozen into ice crystals by the cold air. Finally, a quarter of an hour passed. There was no place on the firebird of the heavenly wind's body that was unscathed. At least 100 wounds had been inflicted by the ice dragons and thousands of ice swords. It had completely gone crazy. It used the forbidden secret technique, burning blood spirit transformation, and did not hesitate to consume 100 years of its cultivation to unleash its last bit of power. Burning blood spirit transformation. Burning heaven and earth. The firebird of the heavenly wind raised its head and roared, letting out a sorrowful cry. Its feathers, flesh, and blood were all set ablaze. It recklessly released the natural spirit fire and transformed into a dazzling, scorching sun. Boom! The endless spirit fire of heaven and earth exploded like a huge mushroom cloud, blowing the entire ice domain into pieces. The white cold air and the Yin wind immediately disappeared in the sea of fire. The heaven and earth within a radius of dozens of miles instantly turned into a domain of fire, and there was only endless fire left in the world. Without a doubt, Ji Tianxing was sent flying. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Even with the protection of the golden wings, he was still severely injured by the firebird of the heavenly wind's dying counterattack. Chapter 683. What was a forbidden secret technique? It was an ultimate technique that was seen as a taboo. It was a secret technique that could not be used unless it was a life and death situation. Once a forbidden secret technique was used, it could stimulate one's ultimate potential and unleash the strongest power in one's life. However, the price of using a forbidden secret technique was also very heavy and unbearable. The heavenly wind firebird had lived for hundreds of years and had hundreds of years of cultivation. However, in order to break through the ice-sealing domain, it had burned its blood and spirit, instantly using up hundreds of years of cultivation. This caused its injuries to worsen and become even more severe. It immediately became an arrow at the end of its flight, and its combat prowess weakened to the extreme. Even if it managed to escape, it would have to recuperate in seclusion for dozens of years before it could recover its vitality. Bearing such a heavy price was the first time in its 100 years of life that it had suffered such a miserable fate. The heavenly wind firebird was covered in blood as it floated in midair. It looked at the sea of fire below with extreme grief and indignation. "Little bastard! Your death is not to be regretted. Don't let me find out who you are. Otherwise, I will exterminate your entire family and kill everyone related to you." The heavenly wind firebird's anger and murderous aura were enough to burn mountains and boil seas, destroying heaven and earth. However, after roaring and cursing, it immediately turned and flew away, swaying as it fled into the distance. Now, it only had 30% of its combat power left. Its injuries were extremely miserable, and its strength was still weakening. More than half of the longevity garden had been destroyed, so it had nothing to worry about. It only wanted to escape as soon as possible and find a place to hide and recuperate. As for the Duanmu family's anger and punishment, it could not care less. It was more important to save its own life. However, just as the heavenly wind firebird turned around, a golden light flew out from the sea of fire behind it. Swoosh! Ji Tianxing had appeared again. He flapped his golden wings and rushed out of the sea of fire, flying into the sky. Although he was also seriously injured, his face was as pale as a sheet, and the golden light on his wings was somewhat dim. He still retained 60% of his combat power. However, he still retained 60% of his fighting strength. Holding the ice dragon hammer in his hand, his body was still surrounded by a cold white light and cold wind. He stared at the heavenly wind firebird's back and said in a cold voice, "You want to escape in front of me? Too naive." As he spoke, he erupted with boundless and vigorous true essence and crazily poured it into the ice dragon hammer. The 4-foot-long ice dragon hammer immediately emitted a dazzling white light and crazily expanded. In the blink of an eye, the ice dragon hammer expanded dozens of times, turning into a huge ice hammer that was 100 meters long. Ice dragon world destruction. Ji Tianxing roared as he waved his hands and used the ice dragon art. He controlled the incomparably huge ice dragon hammer and fiercely smashed it towards the firebird. Instantly, the ice dragon hammer released a destructive white light that condensed into 300-meter-long ice divine dragons and blasted toward the firebird. The firebird of heavenly wind immediately revealed a look of horror and let out a cry of despair. It felt the terrifying power of the ice dragon hammer and struggled to escape. However, the sky within a radius of 10 miles had been sealed in ice, completely frozen and motionless. It had nowhere to run, and its flying speed was as slow as a snail. It could only watch as the 3 frost divine dragons swooped down with the power to destroy the world. Boom, boom, boom. 3 consecutive deafening explosions erupted, resounding through the sky and shaking the earth. The mountain-like body of the firebird of heavenly wind was smashed into smithereens by the 3 frost divine dragons and exploded into fine powder. Its fate was the same as the 3 commanders that were killed by the hammer. The pieces of its body and flesh were frozen into ice crystals and turned into hailstones that covered the sky and covered the earth, sprinkling in the herb garden. The 3 frost divine dragons were also shattered and smashed into the ground with the power to destroy the world. Boom, boom, boom. Another 3 earth-shattering explosions reverberated between heaven and earth and did not dissipate for a long time. Several mountain ranges on the ground were shattered on the spot, turning into a vast expanse of white glacial ruins. The longevity garden, which had a radius of 200 miles, was also shaken to the point of jumping and trembling. Dense cracks appeared on the ground, and the few herb mountains that were lucky enough to survive collapsed one after another. After a full 7 minutes, the dust and white light that covered the sky and the sun slowly dissipated. The loud explosions that reverberated between heaven and earth finally disappeared, and the longevity garden regained its peace. Everything was over. At the entrance of the longevity garden and the edge of the herb garden, there were still more than 1,000 survivors. Among them were 3 guard commanders, more than 200 guards, and many alchemists and servants. When Ji Tianxing was fighting the firebird of heavenly wind, everyone was scared out of their wits. They were terrified and desperate as if the end of the world had arrived. Now that the battle was over, everyone calmed down and settled down. Of the 3 guard commanders who were lucky enough to survive, Two of them had fought with Ji Tianxing and were lucky enough to escape the battlefield and save their lives. The other commander had been guarding the entrance of the herb garden from beginning to end. He had never seen Ji Tianxing and did not know how terrifying Ji Tianxing was. The three of them discussed in low voices for a while. When they saw that there was no more movement in the herb garden, they mustered up their courage and rushed to the center of the herb garden to check the situation of the battlefield. When they flew to the center of the herb garden and stopped in the dark night sky, they were stunned when they saw the scene in the herb garden clearly. After the shocking battle, the longevity garden was already in a state of desolation, with ruins everywhere. An area with a radius of 50 kilometers had been scorched and ruined. There was still a raging fire burning and dark red lava flowing on the ground. Another area with a radius of 50 kilometers was a vast expanse of white glaciers and frozen earth. Ice crystals and snowflakes were constantly falling from the sky and the biting cold wind was howling. 2 hours ago, the longevity garden was still full of vitality and the scene of thousands of flowers and trees competing with each other. Now, the longevity garden was a ruin of ice and fire. All the herb mountains were destroyed. It was over. The longevity garden was completely finished. As the saying went, it was easy to destroy but hard to restore. Even if the Duanmu family rebuilt the herb garden, it would take a year and a huge amount of manpower and resources. If they wanted to plant and cultivate herbs again, it would take at least 10 years before they could return to their previous prosperity and supply the Duanmu family with sufficient herbs. Understanding this, the three commanders immediately looked as if they had lost their parents. They beat their chests and stomped their feet, cursing and swearing. Ji Tianxing did not kill the three of them. However, the three of them would rather die in battle than live. That was because they knew very well that the longevity garden was destroyed and the Duanmu family was severely damaged. They would definitely be dealt with the cruelest punishment. After a long time, the three guard commanders came back to their senses and remembered to report the news. What are you waiting for? Hurry and report the news to the main family. Wait a minute. The longevity garden is completely destroyed. Are you sure you want to report the news? Aren't you afraid that the main family will kill all three of us in a fit of rage? Then what should we do? There's no way we can hide such a monstrous disaster. Don't tell me we have to flee in fear of punishment? Chapter 684. The three guard commanders came up with a plan and actually fled in fear of punishment. They had served the Duanmu family for many years and were very clear about the Duanmu family's style and methods. The reason why this ancient family could survive until now was because of their merciless and cruel reward and punishment system. No matter what the reason was, as the guards guarding the longevity garden, it was a huge mistake for them to not be able to protect the herb garden. Such a huge mistake had to be executed without any room for discussion. The three of them thought that since they were going to die anyway, they might as well escape through the night. Perhaps they might still have a chance of survival. With their strength, they could escape to the remote and desolate southern continent and live in anonymity. They could also live a comfortable and carefree life. Not long after the three guards fled, a few guard captains and alchemists hurriedly sent out messenger birds to report the news to the Duanmu family. At the same time, Ji Tianxing had already left the longevity garden and was rushing to the next herb garden, the spiritual herb garden. While he was rushing through the night sky, he had already taken out 2 elixirs from his spatial ring to heal his injuries and restore his true essence. The continuous running and fighting previously had caused him to suffer heavy injuries and had used up half of his true essence. As he was rushing, he was calculating silently in his heart, another 6 hours have passed. The Duanmu family should know about the destruction of the 100-flower garden by now. Perhaps the Duanmu family people are rushing to the 100-flower garden to check on the situation. For hours later, the news of the destruction of the longevity garden will also reach the Duanmu family. I don't have much time left. I have to destroy the spiritual herb garden and the greenwood garden as soon as possible. Qianyu saw that he was rushing with injuries and did not stop to rest. She was full of worry and consoled him, Old Ji, you have already destroyed the 100-flower garden and the longevity garden and killed the heavenly wind firebird. You have already caused the Duanmu family to suffer heavy losses. If you continue to move in your current condition, I'm afraid your life will be in danger. At the very least, you have to stop and recuperate for 4 hours. You can continue to move after you recover. However, Ji Tianxing shook his head and said firmly, "No way. If I want to destroy the Duanmu family's herb garden and cause them heavy losses, I have to destroy it thoroughly. The Duanmu family moves very quickly. If I don't speed up, I won't have a chance when the Duanmu family's experts arrive. Qianyu, don't worry. Even if I only have 60% of my power left, with the seal of mountains and rivers and the ice dragon hammer, I can still destroy the remaining 2 medicine gardens." Qianyu saw that he had made up his mind and his tone was resolute, so she no longer tried to dissuade him. It also understood that the longevity garden was the most heavily guarded. The remaining spirit herb garden and greenwood garden had similar defensive capabilities as the 100-flower garden. With Ji Tianxing's strength and means, coupled with the help of the 2 soul-grade magical artifacts, he would definitely not be in any life-threatening danger. Thinking of this, Qianyu finally felt relieved. At this moment, dawn was about to arrive. The ancient and majestic Azurewood City was still in deep slumber beneath the veil of night, and it was quiet and peaceful. The Duanmu mansion, which was 100 miles north of the city, was also lit up with a few lanterns, but it was completely silent. In the depths of the main hall of the main palace, the study of the patriarch was brightly lit. In the simple and elegant study, the patriarch, Duanmu Huang, was sitting in front of the table, burying his head in reading the letters and reports, dealing with the various affairs of the Duanmu family. The Duanmu family, as an ancient family, controlled half of the medicine business in the central region. It was really a large family business. As the patriarch, Duanmu Huang would always have an endless amount of affairs to deal with. Moreover, he had recently lost 2 outstanding sons. First Madam and Second Madam were also at loggerheads, and had already reached the stage of life and death. The 2 madams had roped in some elders and leaders, and were currently fighting with each other, causing the Duanmu family to be in a foul atmosphere, in a complete mess. The most headache-inducing thing for a man was a fire in his own backyard. Even an expert like Duanmu Huang was no exception. On one hand, he had to deal with the housework, and on the other hand, he had to manage the family business and affairs. He was already mentally and physically exhausted, so tired that he didn't even have time to take a breather. Very quickly, Duanmu Huang finished reading a few memorials and letters. He then put down the brush in his hand and closed his eyes to rest for a while. As he rubbed his brows, he instructed the guard standing by the door, "Go to the medicinal kitchen and bring a bowl of jade lotus spiritual porridge for this seat." That guard had just bowed and was about to reply with a yes. Just at this moment, a guard commander dressed in golden armor suddenly rushed to the study room door as fast as a gust of wind. He had a flustered expression as he reported, "Patriarch, something bad has happened." Duanmu Huang instantly frowned as he opened his eyes to look at the guard commander at the door. He asked in a deep voice, "What's the matter? Why are you so flustered?" That guard commander immediately reporting to Patriarch, 2 guard captains who were guarding the 100-flower garden rushed to the residence overnight with injuries to report that the 100-flower garden has been destroyed. What? Duanmu Huang's expression changed instantly, and his eyes revealed a deep shock. He was stunned for a moment and thought that he had heard wrongly. He asked again, "You just said that the 100-flower garden has been destroyed?" When the guard commander saw that Duanmu Huang's expression had darkened and his entire body was bursting with anger, he instantly trembled with fear. He lowered his head and said, "Yes. Those 2 guard captains are waiting outside the door." Duanmu Huang forcefully suppressed his anger and ordered in a deep voice, "Let them in." That guard commander hurriedly retreated. After a moment, he brought the 2 guard captains who were dressed in black armor and walked quickly into the study room. Duanmu Huang took a look and saw that the 2 guard captains were riddled with injuries and bloodstains all over their bodies. Their wounds had not been treated yet. Moreover, the two guard captains were panting from exhaustion and had a panicked expression on their faces. Seeing this scene, Duanmu Huang had a premonition that something had really happened to the 100-flower garden. Sure enough, after the two guard captains entered the study room, they immediately knelt on the ground and reported in a hoarse voice, "Patriarch. Just a few hours ago, a mysterious powerhouse broke into the 100-flower garden and killed 4 guards, destroyed 4 storehouses and palaces, and also killed thousands of guards, alchemists, and odd-job workers. That mysterious powerhouse also destroyed the entire 100-flower garden and turned it into a wasteland." Duanmu Huang's expression changed drastically. He stood up with a swoosh, and his eyes widened in anger. He shouted in disbelief, "The entire 100-flower garden has been destroyed? Are you sure it was done by one person?" The two guard captains were intimidated by his imposing manner and crawled on the ground in horror. They hurriedly replied, "That's right, it was done by one person. We saw it with our own eyes. This matter is absolutely true. That mysterious powerhouse was wearing a white robe and seemed to be quite young." Duanmu Huang's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He was so angry that the veins on his forehead were popping out. He clenched his fists so tightly that they made cracking sounds. He almost went berserk on the spot. The entire 100-flower garden has been destroyed. What a shocking loss this is. It will affect at least 20% of the industry and business. Chapter 685. The Garden of the 100 Flowers was completely destroyed. Nearly 200 guards were killed. Dozens of alchemists were killed. What kind of disastrous loss was this? 20% of the Duanmu clan's businesses would be affected. They would lose at least a few billion spiritual stones. The Duanmu clan had never suffered such a great loss in the past 100 years. Duanmu Huang was furious. He was so angry that he almost fainted. However, he was a powerful soul-refining stage cultivator after all. He was the clan leader of the Duanmu clan. He quickly suppressed his anger and calmed down. He thought that the person who could break into the Garden of the 100 Flowers alone, kill the 4 commanders and thousands of people, and destroy the entire herb garden must be a powerful soul-refining stage cultivator. There were very few soul-refining stage cultivators in the Central Plains. It was easy to find out who they were. He couldn't figure out who could be so bold as to destroy the Garden of the 100 Flowers in broad daylight. It was a declaration of war against the Duanmu clan. No matter who it was, they would have to suffer the Duanmu clan's anger and revenge. After a while, Duanmu Huang finally calmed down. He asked in a deep voice, "Did you see what the man in the white robe looked like? What was his cultivation level? What kind of magical weapon did he use?" The two guards looked at each other and frowned. After a while, they answered carefully, "Clan leader, we were far away. We didn't see his face clearly." "Clan leader, the man in the white robe is at least Sky Origin Stage Level 7. He didn't use any magical weapon. He only used one palm strike to destroy the 4 palaces." Duanmu Huang was stunned. He asked in disbelief, "What? He isn't a soul-refining stage cultivator? He is only at Sky Origin stage. How could he break into the herb garden alone and kill the 4 commanders and thousands of people?" The two guard captains were at a loss for words. They didn't know how to respond. After all, it was too shocking. They had never heard of such a thing before. "Pa, you are just a nobody at the 7th level of Sky Origin stage. How could you destroy our herbal garden and kill over 1,000 of our people? What kind of joke was this? If this news were to spread, I'm afraid everyone in the world would laugh their heads off." Duanmu Huang was so angry that he actually laughed. However, even though the expression on his face was smiling, his tone was as cold as ice and contained a murderous intent that soared into the sky. The entire study room was shrouded in an invisible murderous aura and chilliness. The temperature dropped to freezing point, causing the guard commander and the two guard captains to shiver. Duanmu Huang frowned and pondered for a moment before he ordered the two guard captains to leave for the time being. He quickly came up with a countermeasure. He asked the commander of the guards to find 2 elders and bring a few experts and a large number of guards to the 100-flower garden to check on the situation. Baihua Garden had been destroyed. With such a big thing happening, it was only right for him to personally check on the situation. However, the situation within Duanmu Manor was even worse. He couldn't leave for the time being and had to hold down the fort within the manor. Otherwise, if he wasn't in the Duanmu estate, there would definitely be even greater chaos in the estate. An hour passed quickly, and dawn finally arrived. When the sky was slightly bright, the 2 elders of the Duanmu family brought 8 Sky Prime experts and over 100 guards to the 100-flower garden at lightning speed. Duanmu Huang sat in the study room and ordered the guard commander with a gloomy face, "Pass down my orders." An hour later, all the elders, registrars and deacons are to gather in the main hall for a meeting. Not long after the guard commander turned and left, he returned with a terrified expression and rushed into the study room. "Family head. Something bad has happened. Something has happened to the longevity garden." The guard commander was already trembling with fear. When he reported this news, he was extremely terrified and his voice trembled. Duanmu Huang's expression instantly changed. He stood up with a swoosh and asked furiously, "What happened? What happened to the longevity garden?" The guard commander was so frightened that his face turned pale. He immediately knelt on the ground and said with a trembling voice, "Family head." The guard captains and alchemists of the longevity garden rushed back to report that the longevity garden has also been destroyed. "What?" Duanmu Huang's eyes widened and his eyeballs almost popped out. His pupils instantly turned blood red. "The longevity garden. It's also been destroyed." He shouted angrily, emphasizing each word. Without a doubt, this sudden news did not bring him an even greater blow. It was a disaster that could destroy heaven and earth. The longevity garden was the lifeblood of the Duanmu family. It was the most important herb garden and was equivalent to the lifeline of the Duanmu family. Even 200 flower gardens added together were not as important as one longevity garden. Duanmu Huang was so angry that his entire body trembled. The veins on his forehead were throbbing nonstop. He only regained his senses after a long while. "Get them in here." The guard commander immediately felt as if he had been pardoned and hurriedly left the study room. After a while, he led 3 guard captains and 2 alchemists into the study room, trembling with fear. After these guard captains and alchemists entered the study room, they knelt on the ground and reported with sobbing voices, "Family head. Someone invaded the longevity garden and destroyed all the herb mountains." Not only were more than a dozen herb mountains turned into ruins, even the heavenly wind fire bird was killed by that person. "Family head, quickly go and take a look. The entire herb garden has been turned into ruins." When Duanmu Huang heard the news reported by these people, his vision instantly darkened. His chest felt extremely stifled and painful. The incomparable anger and heavy blow caused him to spit out a mouthful of blood. His body trembled a few times and he could not stand steadily. His footsteps staggered and he was about to fall. Fortunately, the guard commander reacted quickly and hurriedly reached out to support Duanmu Huang, preventing him from falling. "Family head, what happened to you? Quickly wake up." The guard commander shouted anxiously and hurriedly helped Duanmu Huang sit down on a large chair. Duanmu Huang was so angry that he almost fainted. It took him a while to regain his senses. When he opened his eyes again, his eyeballs were dark red and filled with blood. His entire body was burning with blood-red flames. "The longevity garden. It's been destroyed too," Duanmu Huang muttered in a daze. His tone was filled with grief, indignation, and despair. He looked at the guard captains and alchemists kneeling on the ground and suddenly revealed a bitter, cold smile. In an indifferent tone, he shouted, "The longevity garden has been destroyed. Why are you still alive?" As his voice fell, he suddenly raised his broad right palm and released a blood-red light condensed from his murderous aura. He fiercely slapped at the 3 guard captains and 2 alchemists. Bang! In a deafening muffled sound, the 3 guard captains and 2 alchemists were smashed into pieces on the spot by the blood-red light and turned into a pile of flesh and blood on the ground. Even so, Duanmu Huang still could not vent his anger. The murderous aura around his body had not dissipated. He stood up with a cold expression and walked out of the study with a monstrous murderous aura. He hurried to the Duanmu family's main hall. Immediately gather everyone. I will personally bring people to the longevity garden. Chapter 686. The destruction of the 100-flower garden only affected the Duanmu family's business by 20%. However, the destruction of the longevity garden dealt a heavy blow to the Duanmu family. At least 40% of their business was affected. The loss of the 2 herb gardens was enough to cause the Duanmu family to lose 60% to 70% of their business. It would be difficult for them to recover within 10 years. Although Duanmu Huang appeared calm on the surface and could still act normally and issue orders, he was already on the verge of exploding. But in reality, he was already on the verge of going berserk from his rage. He was like a volcano that could erupt at any moment. His face was as black as the bottom of a pot. His eyes were blood red, and his entire body was surrounded by a blood-red murderous aura. Anyone who saw him was intimidated by his aura and kept quiet out of fear. Even the few elders and managers who had been fighting openly and covertly during the short period of time tactfully chose to remain silent and quiet. After Duanmu Huang entered the main hall, he announced the news and gave a few orders to the elders, managers, and deacons. Just last night, a mysterious powerful figure barged into the 100-flower garden and the longevity garden. He destroyed the 2 herb gardens and killed thousands of people, including the heavenly wind firebird. This person destroyed the herb gardens of the Duanmu family. This is a declaration of war against us. No matter who he is or what kind of background he has, the Duanmu family will be irreconcilable with him. Elder Li, Elder Yang, each of you will lead 10 powerful figures and 100 guards to the spiritual herb garden and the greenwood garden to prevent that mysterious powerful figure from invading. 2nd elder, 3rd elder, 4th elder, and 6th elder, follow me to the longevity garden to investigate the situation. 1st elder and 5th elder, stay in the residence and don't allow anyone to cause trouble. Otherwise, you will be killed on the spot. Duanmu Huang announced the order with a murderous aura. Then, he personally led 4 elders, more than 10 deacons, and more than 100 guards to the longevity garden. When everyone heard that the longevity garden and the 100-flower garden had been destroyed, they were shocked and furious. They finally understood why Duanmu Huang was so angry. After the news spread out, the entire Duanmu estate was in an uproar, and everyone fell into panic and terror. Everyone understood what the destruction of the 2 herb gardens meant. The Duanmu family's disaster had arrived. About 4 hours later, the sun was high up in the sky. Duanmu Huang brought many elders, deacons, and guards with him. Riding on spirit birds, they arrived at the longevity garden in a grandiose manner. When they arrived at the longevity garden, they could see the garden from a distance. Duanmu Huang led the 4 elders back to the palace at the entrance of the herb garden and asked the deacons about the results of their questioning. The various deacons interrogated many guards, odd-job workers, and pharmacists, and had a clearer understanding of the battle situation at that time. However, they still did not know the identity of the white-robed expert and did not find any useful clues. At this moment, a divine origin stage guard commander flew to Duanmu Huang as fast as lightning and reported the news with a voice full of fear. "Master, there is more news. Something happened in the herb garden." The sudden news silenced everyone on the spot. Duanmu Huang, the elders, and the deacons all stiffened. Their eyes were filled with rage and killing intent. Countless people cursed angrily. Their faces were ashen and their fists were clenched so tightly that they made cracking sounds. They wanted to cut the intruder into pieces. Duanmu Huang did not lose his composure on the spot. His expression was as cold as an iceberg as usual. As expected, the spiritual herb garden was also destroyed. Then his next target would be the greenwood garden. What a vicious bastard. He actually destroyed 3 of our herb gardens in one night. Does he want to completely destroy our Duanmu clan? Duanmu Huang laughed coldly. He quickly calmed down and made a series of arrangements. When he found out that the longevity garden was destroyed, he was already extremely angry. Now, even when he found out that the herb garden was destroyed, he was not so angry anymore. In the next 4 hours, Duanmu Huang and the elders repeatedly investigated the longevity garden. They used various clues to almost reconstruct the scene when the herb garden was destroyed. However, they still could not identify the identity of the mysterious expert. The white-robed expert seemed to have appeared out of thin air. Duanmu Huang and the 4 elders were extremely angry and anxious. However, they had no clue. Helpless, Duanmu Huang ordered the soul-herding hall to go out in full force and do their best to investigate the clues. Just as Duanmu Huang and the rest were at their wits' end, a guard commander suddenly rushed over to report the news. Reporting to the patriarch, there is a middle-aged expert outside the herb garden who calls himself Lu Yunjinren. He says that he has an important matter to discuss with you. Lu Yunjinren? Duanmu Huang frowned and thought for a while. His tone was cold as he shouted angrily, I have never heard of this person. What kind of Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to see me? Ask him to scram. If he dares to pester me, kill him. Duanmu Huang was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. However, someone came to see him. How could he be happy? However, the guard commander added another sentence. Chapter 687. The entrance to the Garden of Longevity was a 100-meter-high stone gate. There were 18 guards guarding the gate, and outside the gate was a flat grassland. 2 middle-aged men, one tall and one short, were standing on the grassland, waiting quietly. The tall and thin middle-aged man was wearing a robe embroidered with cloud patterns. He wore a feathered crown and held a silver horsetail whisk in his hand. He looked like a hermit. The middle-aged man next to him was short and fat. He wore a black robe and was dressed as a guard, although they seemed to be waiting quietly for their summons. But in fact, the 2 of them were secretly communicating with each other through spiritual sense. The black-robed guard asked calmly, Demon King, are you really going to talk to the Duanmu Huang face-to-face? The middle-aged man frowned and scolded him sternly, Shueli, remember to call me. Oh no, call me Lu Yunjinren. Don't let the cat out of the bag. The black-robed guard quickly said, Demon? Sir, although we have taken over the bodies of 2 humans and used a secret technique to disguise ourselves as humans, the Duanmu Huang is a powerhouse in the soul-refining stage. If he sees through your disguise, your life will be in danger. Lu Yunjinren said confidently, Don't worry, my secret technique has been perfected. There will be no flaws. Besides, the Duanmu Huang must be furious with the upheaval of the Duanmu family and only care about finding clues to the murderer. He must be overjoyed to suddenly know about the murderer. Why would he think so much? As long as my plan succeeds, I will be able to cause chaos in the world. It will be worth risking my life. Shueli was shocked and confused. He quickly asked, Sir, isn't your plan to use the Duanmu family to deal with Ji Tianxing? How can you cause chaos in the world? Lu Yunjinren said impatiently, I have great foresight. How can you understand the situation that I see and think about? I don't have time to explain it to you now. If the plan succeeds, I will tell you the reason. Shueli was still worried and asked again, Sir, how can you be so sure that the Duanmu Huang hasn't found out that the murderer is Ji Tianxing? Daoist Master Flowing Cloud explained with a playful tone, Ever since we came to Zhong Province, we have only done one thing, and that is to keep an eye on Ji Tianxing day and night. Therefore, we know his whereabouts like the back of our hands. On the other hand, the Duanmu clan had many matters to attend to and had many enemies. It was impossible for them to keep an eye on Ji Tianxing all the time. Therefore, they definitely did not know all of Ji Tianxing's whereabouts and movements. The Duanmu Huang would never have imagined that Ji Tianxing would be so audacious as to destroy their herb garden. The guard, Shueli, was stunned for a moment, then suddenly understood. His eyes were filled with admiration. My lord is indeed wise and far-sighted. This subordinate wishes my lord's plan a success and all your wishes come true. Daoist Master Flowing Cloud nodded slightly and said, All right, it's too early to talk about this now. Wait until I meet the Duanmu Huang face to face. In order to avoid being exposed, you don't have to follow me in later. Stay here and wait. Xueli quickly nodded and said through telepathy, This subordinate obeys. I await your good news. Not long after, a guard commander walked out of the gate of the Longevity Garden. He came in front of Daoist Master Flowing Cloud and Xueli and said calmly, Daoist Master Flowing Cloud, my master invites you in. Please follow me. After that, the guard commander led Daoist Master Flowing Cloud through the gate and into the Longevity Garden. About 15 minutes later, the guard commander led Daoist Master Flowing Cloud into the main hall of a palace. In the spacious and bright main hall, there stood 4 Duanmu clan elders in purple robes. The Duanmu Huang had already retracted his murderous aura and his pupils had returned to normal. He was sitting on the throne at the head of the hall. When Daoist Master Flowing Cloud stepped into the main hall, the gazes of the Duanmu Huang and the 4 elders all landed on him, carefully sizing him up. Daoist Master Flowing Cloud felt everyone's gaze and his heart tightened slightly. He was a little nervous, worried that he would be exposed. Fortunately, he had perfectly concealed his aura and did not reveal any abnormalities or flaws. He walked to the middle of the main hall with a calm expression and stood still. He bowed respectfully to the Duanmu Huang. I am Mu Flowing Cloud. Greetings to clan leader Duanmu. The Duanmu Huang retracted his scrutinizing gaze and nodded slightly. You may rise, Daoist Master Flowing Cloud. Only then did Daoist Master Flowing Cloud raise his head and look calmly at the Duanmu Huang. Although the Duanmu Huang's expression was calm and composed, he could see that the Duanmu Huang's heart was burning with anger and anxiety. This gave him more confidence and made him look forward to his plan. The Duanmu Huang did not beat around the bush and asked straightforwardly, Daoist Master Flowing Cloud, do you know who the culprit who destroyed the herb garden is? That's right. Daoist Master Flowing Cloud nodded without hesitation. The Duanmu Huang frowned and looked at him with a sharp gaze. He said in a dignified tone, I have yet to find the culprit. How would you know? Don't tell me that you happened to pass by the Longevity Garden and saw the culprit destroying the herb garden. Clearly, the Duanmu Huang did not trust Daoist Master Flowing Cloud. Even if he had a glimmer of hope and allowed Daoist Master Flowing Cloud to meet him, he still kept his guard up. Daoist Master Flowing Cloud revealed a playful smile and explained without hesitation. Clan leader Duanmu, you must be joking. I did not pass by this place by chance. I have been following the culprit and saw him destroy the Longevity Garden with my own eyes. Hearing this, the Duanmu Huang raised his eyebrows and asked doubtfully, You have been following the culprit? Daoist Master Flowing Cloud cupped his hands and said with a serious expression, To tell you the truth, clan leader Duanmu, I am from the Myriad Spirit Tower. I have recently received a bounty mission, so I have been following that white-robed youth. I did not expect that white-robed youth to be so daring and scheming to destroy the Duanmu family's herb garden. I guess that clan leader Duanmu would be furious, so I wanted to do you a favor and form a good relationship with the Duanmu family. That is why I have come to tell you the identity of that white-robed youth. Hearing the 3 words Myriad Spirit Tower, the Duanmu Huang nodded slightly and vaguely understood something. The 4 elders in the main hall also looked at each other. Daoist Master Flowing Cloud's vigilance dissipated. The Myriad Spirit Tower was one of the top powerhouses in the Middle State. It was an assassin organization that struck fear in people. Across the entire Tianxian continent, the Myriad Spirit Tower was the undisputed leader among the countless assassin organizations. Anyone below the spirit refinement stage could not escape the assassination of the Myriad Spirit Tower. Even elite warriors at the spirit refinement stage had been successfully assassinated by the Myriad Spirit Tower. Of course, the Duanmu Huang knew that the strength of the Myriad Spirit Tower could not be underestimated. He looked at Daoist master Flowing Cloud with a burning gaze and asked in a low voice, "You are an assassin from the Myriad Spirit Tower? Who is the white-robed youth that you want to assassinate?" Daoist master Flowing Cloud nodded with a smile and said with a playful tone, "That white-robed youth is not only my assassination target, he is also someone that clan leader Duanmu hates to the bone." Chapter 688. Ji Tianxing? How could it be him? Duanmu Huang was stunned on the spot. He let out a cry of disbelief. The four patriarchs in the hall all changed their expressions. They were shocked and couldn't believe it. They started to whisper to each other. Duanmu Huang frowned and stared at Venerable Lu Yun. He said in a deep voice, "Ji Tianxing is just an ant in Sky Origin Stage 3. How could he break into the Longevity Garden and destroy our herb garden? Venerable Lu Yun, you should know the consequences of lying to me." The four patriarchs quieted down and stared at Venerable Lu Yun. They wanted to see how he would explain. Venerable Lu Yun was still calm and composed. He smiled playfully. I knew you would react like this. It is just as unbelievable as when I saw Ji Tianxing break into the Longevity Garden, kill the ancient demonic beast, and destroy the herb garden." He waved the silver horsetail whisk in his hand and said slowly, "Family leader Duanmu, you should know that Ji Tianxing was able to fight Qianshan Zhenwu to a draw, and that's why he became the Tianshan region lord. It means that although he is only in Sky Origin Stage 3, his real combat ability is comparable to a Sky Origin Stage cultivator. Besides, he has the region lord's golden seal, which is a soul-level magic treasure. It can double his combat ability." Duanmu Huang narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, "So you're saying that Ji Tianxing was able to break into the herb garden and kill the firebird because of the domain lord's golden seal?" "Oh no." Venerable Lu Yun shook his head and said with a smile, "Ji Tianxing doesn't only have the golden seal. He also has an ice attribute magic treasure, the Ice Dragon Hammer. The Ice Dragon Hammer is the most precious treasure of the demon clan. It is made from the horn of the Ice Dragon Rhinoceros. It can restrain the power of the firebird. Ji Tianxing had relied on the might of the Ice Dragon Hammer to kill the ancient beast, the firebird of heavenly wind. I believe that the Duanmu clan's patriarch has already made his judgment on this point and should know that what I said is true. After the Longevity Garden was destroyed, half of it turned into scorched earth and ruins. There were still remnants of magma, which was caused by the heavenly wind firebird's heaven and earth spirit fire. As for the other half of the battlefield, it turned into frozen ground. That was caused by the power of the Ice Dragon Hammer. Duanmu Huang and the four elders had already carefully examined the ruins of the battlefield. They also concluded that Ji Tianxing had used an ice-type magical weapon. Therefore, when they heard Daoist Master Lu Yun's words, they immediately believed him. If family head Duanmu is still unwilling to believe me, then there's no harm in looking at this. After speaking, Daoist Lu Yun took out a fist-sized crystal ball from his spatial ring. Without a doubt, this was a photographic crystal. Daoist Master Flowing Cloud inserted a strand of quintessential essence into the crystal ball. The crystal immediately lit up with a silver light, forming a silver light screen. A scene appeared on the light screen. In the scene, there was a dusky sky. There was a firebird that was as large as a mountain. It was currently fighting with a white-robed youth in the night sky. The firebird continuously released flames that covered the sky and earth. The white-robed youth held a jade-white bone hammer in his hand, releasing an endless amount of icy white light. A man and a bird fought fiercely in the night sky. The aftermath of the battle poured down onto the ground, instantly collapsing the herb mountain and turning the entire mountain range into a vast expanse of white glaciers. Seeing this scene, Duanmu Huang and the four elders no longer had any doubts. They all revealed incomparably furious expressions. After a moment, the scene disappeared. Daoist Master Lu Yun then kept the photographic crystal with a smile. Duanmu Huang frowned and thought for a moment. He opened his mouth and asked him, "Daoist Master Lu Yun, since the Ice Dragon Hammer is the Demon Clan's treasure, how did it end up in Ji Tianxing's hands?" The smile on Daoist Master Lu Yun's face became even more playful. Could it be that clan leader Duanmu has never thought that Ji Tianxing was originally a lowly commoner? What right did he have to enter the monarch mansion, become the Tianshan region lord, and even become a peerless genius whose name shook the world? If he didn't have a powerful backer and background, how would he dare to kill the Duanmu clan's eldest son, Duanmu Yulong, in front of everyone? Hearing his words, Duanmu Huang's expression instantly changed. His eyes surged with an eerie cold light. You mean Ji Tianxing colluded with the demon clan and has the demon clan as his backer? That's why he was able to enter the monarch mansion in one step and dared to offend our Duanmu clan so unscrupulously? The four elders' expressions also changed, revealing a look of sudden realization. Daoist Master Lu Yun smiled and nodded. That's right. The fact that he was able to obtain the demon clan's treasure, the Ice Dragon Hammer, is the most direct and most powerful proof. At this moment, second elder cupped his hands and reported, Patriarch, what Daoist Master Lu Yun said is true. Previously, the Soul-Herding Hall also investigated and found that Ji Tianxing and the demon clan's Prince Kuan-Wu have close ties. Their relationship is not shallow. Duanmu Huang instantly had no more doubts. His knuckles cracked as he clenched his fists. His eyes also surged with soaring killing intent. Ji Tianxing. It's actually you, you bastard. You first killed my son, and now you've destroyed my Duanmu clan's herb garden. You and I cannot live under the same sky. So what if you have the demon clan as your backer? I'll catch you very soon and cut you into 1,000 pieces. I'll extract your soul and torture it for 1,000 years. Duanmu Huang roared a few words in a venomous tone. It took him a while to calm down. He looked coldly at Daoist Master Lu Yun and said in a deep voice, Daoist Master Lu Yun, the reason why you took the initiative to tell me this is because you're afraid of the demon clan behind him. You don't dare to assassinate him, so you want to borrow my Duanmu clan's power to get rid of him, right? Daoist Master Lu Yun nodded without hesitation and said in a playful tone, That's right. Patriarch Duanmu is indeed wise. Although I really want to complete the mission and earn a high reward, I don't want to suffer the revenge of the demon clan's experts. That's why I told Patriarch Duanmu the truth. Ji Tianxing is our common target and enemy. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I believe that Patriarch Duanmu will definitely tear him into pieces, right? Duanmu Huang stared at Daoist Master Lu Yun and nodded with a cold smile. Very good. This is the result that both you and I wanted. You're very smart. The Duanmu clan owes you a favor. You can leave now. Since Daoist Master Lu Yun had achieved his goal, he bade farewell and left in satisfaction. Although it seemed like he was using the Duanmu clan, he was using them openly. However, in Duanmu Huang's eyes, this was not about who was using who. It was a win-win situation. Daoist Master Lu Yun did not need to make a move to make Ji Tianxing die without a burial ground. The Duanmu clan was worried that they would not be able to find the culprit. Now that the truth was out, they could immediately start their revenge. After Daoist Lu Yun left, Duanmu Huang didn't hesitate any longer and immediately ordered in a low voice. Second elder, third elder, both of you make a move yourselves and immediately capture Ji Tianxing for me. Unless he's hiding in the imperial court or the monarch residence, as long as he shows his face in Zhongzhou, you don't have to worry about anyone and just take action. Whoever dares to stop my Duanmu clan from taking revenge will be my Duanmu clan's mortal enemy. Obviously, Duanmu Huang was completely enraged. He did not care about anything else for revenge. Chapter 689. Lu Yunjinren smiled as he left the longevity garden. Everything was going according to his plan, which was why he was in a good mood. When he walked out of the longevity garden, Shueli, the guard at the gate, immediately came up to him. Seeing his smiling face, Shueli hurriedly asked, My lord, is it done? With this king personally taking action, of course everything will go smoothly. Daoist Master Lu Yun revealed a complacent sneer. Seeing that Shueli was about to ask again, he quickly said, This is not the place to talk, let's leave first. With that, Reverend Lu Yun left the longevity garden with his guard, Shueli, and flew away as fast as lightning. 12 hours later, the two left the mango forest and landed on a towering mountain. The two stood in the forest at the top of the mountain. Seeing that no one was following them, they used their power to remove their disguises and showed their true faces. Swoosh! Shueli's body flashed with a black fog, and he immediately turned into a 3-meter-tall, burly demon clan man. Lu Yunjinren's body flashed with the demon fog and changed back to his original appearance. He was a middle-aged man with a thin body like a bamboo pole, wearing a blood-red robe. He had waist-long blood-red hair tied into 3 braids. His skin was pale and bloodless. His flat mouth revealed a few fangs, which were still dripping with blood. At first glance, he looked like a corpse that had just crawled out of a grave. If Ji Tianxing was here, he would be able to recognize that this demon clan man was the blood-winged demon king, Shui Qianjiang. Shui Qianjiang twisted his neck and stretched his limbs. He cursed angrily. Living in the corpse of that human reptile really made me feel uncomfortable and disgusted. Fortunately, this king's plan succeeded. Everything was worth it. Shueli stood respectfully to the side and asked doubtfully, "Your Majesty, please tell me. What is your plan to create chaos in the world?" Shui Qianjiang smiled coldly and said slowly, "I lied and said that I was an assassin from the 10,000 Spirits Tower and showed the image recording crystal to Duanmu Huang so that he would know that the culprit was Ji Tianxing. Furthermore, this king will let them know that Ji Tianxing is using the most precious treasure of the demon clan, the Ice Dragon Hammer. Duanmu Huang is certain that Ji Tianxing's backer is the Yao clan. That's why he dared to kill his son and destroy his herb garden." Shueli frowned and asked doubtfully, "Demon King, even if the Duanmu Huang believes that the demon tribe is Ji Tianxing's backer, everything Ji Tianxing did was ordered by the demon tribe. But no matter how much the Duanmu Huang hated the demon clan, they couldn't possibly start a war with the demon clan. At most, he can only kill Ji Tianxing to vent his anger, right?" Shui Qianjiang glanced at Shueli and sneered, "What do you know?" "That's right, no matter how strong the Duanmu clan is, they wouldn't dare to fall out with the demon clan, let alone cause chaos in the world. But what you don't know is that the Duanmu clan has a backer, someone from the human imperial court. If I'm not wrong, the Duanmu Huang can't deal with the demon clan and will definitely report the news to the imperial court." Shueli was suddenly enlightened. He nodded in admiration and said, "Your Majesty, you're really powerful. This move is really brilliant. By doing this, you can provoke the hatred between the human imperial court and the demon imperial court, causing the human clan and the demon clan to fight each other. If the human clan and the demon clan are not united, there will be conflicts and disputes, and the world will be in chaos. The demon clan will have a chance to take advantage of this and achieve great things." Shui Qianjiang nodded and sneered, "That's right, this is my plan. I want to stir up the world and cause the human clan and the demon clan to fight each other. Although the hatred of the Duanmu clan is not enough to cause the human clan and the demon clan to break apart and start fighting each other, this is a line of fire. But this is a line of fire. By igniting this line of fire, this king can gradually deepen the hatred between the two sides, implicating more factions. When the conflict between the two sides deepens and more forces are involved, it will no longer be able to be resolved." Shueli nodded repeatedly, his eyes full of expectation. Shui Qianjiang sneered and his eyes became more and more sinister. He continued, "During this period, we have to pay attention to the situation at all times and add fuel to the fire at the appropriate time to create more hatred. When the world is in chaos, the demon clan can take advantage of the situation and develop and grow stronger. This is a great contribution, even greater than our contribution of capturing Ji Tianxing." Shueli's face was full of expectation. He bowed and said, "Your Majesty's wisdom really amazes me. When the human clan and the demon clan break apart and fight each other, you will be the greatest hero of our clan." Shui Qianjiang nodded with satisfaction and left the mountain peak with Shueli, flying away as fast as lightning. Unknowingly, a whole day passed. In the middle of the night, Ji Tianxing returned to the monarch mansion and returned to the Tianxing palace. After 2 days of hard work and continuous fighting, he was in an extremely sorry state. His white robe was stained with dust, and he looked travel-worn. His injuries were still very serious, and he only had 30% of his true core strength left. He was already an arrow at the end of its flight. His breath and face were very weak. Not only were his cheeks and lips pale, but even his eyes were dim. But in his opinion, it was all worth it. He had successfully destroyed the 100-flower garden, the spiritual grass garden, and the longevity garden, destroying 80% of the Duanmu clan's medicinal reserves. The Duanmu clan suffered a great loss and suffered the worst blow in hundreds of years. He believed that the Duanmu clan's industries and businesses in the central region would soon be destroyed. The Duanmu clan's power would also plummet, and they would not be able to deal with the Yun clan for 10 years. Even though Ji Tianxing was exhausted, he was still very excited at the thought of this. After returning to his residence, he could not wait to enter the secret chamber and consume the elixir and began to heal his injuries. Little Black Dragon and Qianyu had also consumed a lot of energy and were quietly cultivating to recover their strength. Unknowingly, a day and night passed. When night fell on the second day, Ji Tianxing's true core strength had recovered by 80% and his injuries were mostly healed. He was prepared to continue cultivating and recuperate for a few days. But at this moment, a guard captain rushed to the door of the secret chamber and respectfully reported the news. Reporting to Domain Lord, His Majesty the Son of Heaven has arrived at the Tianxing Palace and said that he has something to discuss with you and is waiting for you in the main hall. Hearing the guard captain's report, Ji Tianxing hurriedly ended his cultivation and opened his eyes. He frowned and a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. Why would Long Yunxiao come to find me? Could it be that he already knew that the Duanmu clan's herb garden was destroyed and came to find me because of this? Chapter 690. When Ji Tianxing rushed to the guest hall, he saw a young man in a golden robe standing in the hall. The young man in the golden robe was tall and straight. He had a handsome face and a noble temperament. He was the son of heaven, Long Yunxiao. Long Yunxiao's back was facing the door as he stared at the painting on the wall. He was staring at the mountain-river diagram in the painting, deep in thought. Ji Tianxing walked into the main hall and stood behind Long Yunxiao, greeting him. May I know why the Son of Heaven is here tonight? Long Yunxiao came back to his senses and turned to look at Ji Tianxing, sizing him up calmly. Seeing that he was safe and sound, Long Yunxiao raised his eyebrows and said in a playful tone, You caused such a big commotion, but you're actually unharmed. How incredible! Ji Tianxing vaguely guessed something, but he didn't show it on his face. He pretended to be puzzled and asked, Son of Heaven, what do you mean? Long Yunxiao glanced around and saw that there was no one else in the hall except for him and Ji Tianxing. He then said with a serious expression, All right, I won't keep you in suspense. Don't play dumb. Let me ask you, the Duanmu family's 3 herb gardens were destroyed and they suffered heavy losses. Was it your doing? Ji Tianxing neither admitted nor denied it. He looked at him calmly and asked, Son of Heaven came to find me in the middle of the night just to ask about this? Long Yunxiao saw that his attitude was a little vigilant. He frowned and said in a deep voice, I'm not here to seek justice for the Duanmu family. In recent years, the Duanmu family has been acting arrogantly and wantonly dealing with the Yun family. Their ambitions are clear as day. You actually dared to do such an earth-shattering feat at this time and cause the Duanmu family to suffer a heavy blow. I can't believe it. I don't have any opinions about your actions. I even admire you. However, the Duanmu family's vitality has been greatly damaged and the balance between the 3 great families has been broken. This is something that the imperial court doesn't want to see. Ji Tianxing understood what he meant. He nodded and said calmly, I don't know what the imperial court thinks. I only do what I think is right. Only do what you think is right? Hearing this, Long Yunxiao raised his eyebrows and a strange light flashed in his eyes. He took a deep look at Ji Tianxing and thought to himself, this guy's style of doing things is to do things his own way, without any taboos, completely ignoring the views and opinions of others. This point coincides with this monarch's thoughts. For some reason, the more Long Yunxiao understood Ji Tianxing, the more he liked him. Long Yunxiao knew that it was useless to say more, so he said to Ji Tianxing, "Now that such a big thing has happened, the Duanmu clan will definitely go crazy for revenge and kill you at all costs. In the following period of time, you have to be careful. If you have any trouble that you can't solve, don't hesitate to look for me. I will definitely lend you a helping hand." After saying that, Long Yunxiao cupped his hands and took his leave. Ji Tianxing nodded, cupped his hands and said, "Many thanks." Then he sent Long Yunxiao out of the hall. After sending Long Yunxiao away, he returned to the secret room and continued to cultivate. No matter what happened, he always placed cultivation as his #1 priority. The Duanmu clan's herb garden was destroyed, and the situation in the central state would definitely change greatly. There would definitely be more grudges and vendettas in the future. Therefore, Ji Tianxing urgently needed to increase his strength so that he could withstand the storm in the future and settle down. Time passed quietly, and 3 days passed in a flash. In these 3 days, the central state could be said to be in turmoil. There was a sensational and incomparably shocking news that was crazily spreading in the central state. In the depths of the Mangu forest, the 3 herb gardens that the Duanmu clan had built with all their strength were all destroyed overnight. It was said that a mysterious expert attacked during the night and turned the 3 herb gardens into scorched earth and ruins. Not even a blade of grass grew. Even the ancient mystical beast that guarded the herb gardens of the Duanmu clan was blasted into pieces. Anyone who had heard of the Duanmu clan knew that the Duanmu clan was an ancient elixir family that controlled half of the herb business in the central state. The main reason why the Duanmu clan could prosper for thousands of years without declining was because of the Mangu forest and the 4 herb gardens. The 4 herb gardens could provide an endless supply of herbs, allowing the Duanmu clan to control the lifeline of the central state's elixir market. Now, the 3 herb gardens were destroyed, and the temporary storage of herbs was also destroyed. This was definitely a fatal blow to the Duanmu clan. Anyone with a bit of common sense knew that the Duanmu clan had lost the support of sufficient herbs. The clan's property and business would be greatly affected, and their power would definitely plummet. When this news spread, it immediately spread to every city and village in the central state. Even the common people were discussing it. While everyone was shocked and in disbelief, they were also very puzzled. Who exactly was that mysterious expert who destroyed the 3 herb gardens with one hand? How powerful was he to be able to enter the 3 herb gardens so easily, kill countless experts and guards, and even kill the ancient mystical beast? How powerful was his backer that he dared to declare war on the Duanmu clan? Was it the other 2 great families, or some top force? He used such a ruthless method to take the lives of the Duanmu clan in one move. Was he not afraid of the Duanmu clan's crazy revenge? In an instant, the common people discussed endlessly and made all kinds of wild guesses. In the streets and alleys, all kinds of rumors and slanders were circulating. Everyone had different opinions, and no one could come to a conclusion. The common people did not know the truth. Even if they made wild guesses and discussed, they could not come to a conclusion. However, the various great clans and sects of the central continent had a more thorough understanding of the situation than the common people. The experts of the various forces all believed that the mysterious expert's strength was extraordinary, and that he had the support of a powerful family or the imperial court. Otherwise, he would not dare to be so arrogant. Everyone understood that the Duanmu clan had met a strong enemy this time. Not only was the other party powerful, he had no scruples and his methods were very ruthless. After the Duanmu clan suffered heavy losses, the other party would definitely make a follow-up move. He would take the opportunity to hit them when they were down and completely destroy the Duanmu clan. When the experts of the various forces analyzed this point, some people were worried for the Duanmu clan, but more people were gloating over their misfortune. Those powerful families and sects that had grudges with the Duanmu clan were wild with joy and were ready to make a move. The mysterious expert did what they wanted to do but did not dare to do. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them. They seized the opportunity to add fuel to the fire and take revenge on the Duanmu clan. Therefore, many powerful families and sects were mobilizing their forces and manpower to secretly take revenge on the Duanmu clan. On the central state, it looked peaceful on the surface, but in fact, there were turbulent undercurrents. Countless forces heard the news and were dragged into it. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.